shit, I forgot the welcome part. Howdy, welcome back to Adjective Noun Gaming. It has been a long time, but we are here for the ANG Cast, the podcast where we talk about video games and everything else in between. I am Josh, as always, joined by three of my best buddies to talk about our top games of 2023. We all have compiled a top 10 list of our favorite games of 2023. We also have some honorable mentions, which we will get to at the end of the show. This is part one of our usual Game of the Year festivities. Part two will be coming in the near future, where we talk about movies, TV shows, and music albums that we liked in 2023. But today we're just going to talk about games. That's what we're going to focus on, because that's what we're all here for. One of the best gaming years in our lifetimes, maybe if ever. Like, it was an absolutely incredible year. Games for everybody, genres for everybody. It was an incredible year, and we're definitely going to touch on that today. I'm going to adjust my mic volume a little bit here and turn myself up for recording. But once again, I am joined by Alex from Swirly Games, Swirly Plays, and most importantly, Swirly Fucks. How are we doing, Alex? Hello? Hello.
Alex?
I think Alex is muted. Alex might be muted. I can no longer hear Alex.
I can't hear him either.
Oh, no.
This is a great opening.
Oh, no. Alex, we can't hear you, buddy. And he's not muted on Discord.
God damn it. Wait, am I back?
Yeah.
He's back.
I don't know. I bumped my mic and it didn't say I was muted, but I just had to unplug the cord and
shove
it back in there.
Fuck it. We're keeping this in. We're not editing this out. This is the podcast.
Wonderful start.
Because why wouldn't we do
Happy
this?
to be here.
Happy to be here. So speaking of Swirly Plays and Swirly Streams and Swirly Fucks, we just did a stream on Alex's channel over on Swirly Streams on Twitch last night. A rousing success, if I do say so myself. It was the first annual Swirly Awards. I'm not sure when this episode of the ANG Cast is going to get posted on YouTube, but you can watch the archive of the Swirly Awards on Twitch, I think, for up to 30 days, or when Alex posts it on YouTube, which will be like the kind of cleaned up, edited version, if I'm not mistaken. But be sure to watch that, because we had a hell of a time recording that, streaming that. It was a lot of fun. We had a really great Twitch audience for that as well. So definitely be sure to check that out and check out all the other stuff Alex has going on his channel. Check out his YouTube channel and Twitch channel, and follow us all on Twitter, all that good shit.
Hell yeah. Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
It was really great. And then the other two usual suspects when it comes to Adjective Noun Gaming, we have Aaron and Buddy Ben. Aaron, how's it going today?
You said that this might be one of the best years in games, but you were alive in 1997 when Final Fantasy VII did come out, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the thing you have to remember about me is I'm not a fucking nerd, so... And Ben, speaking of nerds, Ben, how are we doing today?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy to be here. Excited to talk about the year in games.
All right, so we are going to try a little bit of a different format this year, which you guys will pick up on pretty quickly. I think it's going to be a more organized and better format for the podcast going forward. So Alex and I both had top 20s this year, but we are going to save the bottom part of our top 20s for honorable mentions to have at the end, at which point we'll take turns reading our honorable mentions at the end, one at a time. But for right now, I'm going to kick it off with my number 10 game, and we're going to go around the room one at a time and list off all of our 10s and then 9s and so forth. And if somebody has a certain number ranked higher than the person who's talking, we hold off and we talk about it whenever we get to that person. So, without any further ado, gentlemen, are we ready for the ANG Cast 2023 Games of the Year?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right. My number 10 of last year was Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. I was a huge fan. Nobody else has this on the list, right?
Nope.
Okay.
I've never even heard of it. You made it up.
Yeah, I did, actually. That's the first test, and
Brand
you
new
passed. Yep, we're testing out the format.
You said it was a sequel, so that way it seemed like it was even more real.
There you go.
Put a colon in there.
Nothing gets by you, buddy. So Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals was a really good game this year. I really, really liked the first Oxenfree. I talked about it a little bit on Alex's stream last night. Like, two of my favorite video game soundtracks that I've ever heard as far as like synth soundtracks in video games. Really good presentation of like mystery and uneasiness. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, you play as a group of like teenagers walking around like a beach island, and like the mystery just keeps developing further and further. The soundtrack keeps you like on the edge of your seat the whole time, which is like a huge part of it. I absolutely love the soundtrack. The story was, I think, even a little bit better this time in the second one than the first one. My biggest issue with the game, which is why I think no matter how many times they make an Oxenfree game, unless they fix this, it's always going to rank lower on my list. The movement is just so slow. Like, it's very deliberately slow walking. They fixed it a little bit in the second one. They gave you kind of like a jog button instead of a run button. I'm still not sure what the choices, like that gameplay, or not gameplay, but like game development choices to make you move around slower. But it's the biggest reason why I would never circle back, I don't think, and try to get like the platinum trophy to try to do everything, just because you are moving so fucking slow, and the island is even bigger this time. And it's just a lot to do. There's a surprising amount of like depth to this game. The story was really cool twists and reveals and everything. But yeah, so that was my number 10 game of last year, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. And I believe Alex is up next.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my number 10 is going to be talked about later. My number 10 was Dead Space Remake. Or remastered? Remake? I think it was
yes, that is high on my list.
Can't talk about it.
Yep. Remake, remaster, who knows? We'll figure it out later.
Yep.
All right. So my number 10 is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Much higher.
Also will be talked about later.
Will be talked about later.
Separate ways.
Oh,
just the DLC. Okay, I see what we're
DLC.
doing here. Okay.
I did not play the DLC.
I did
I
not
wanted
either.
to go back to it, but
I think this is unfair because if it's unfair, I have a backup. But I feel like it's fair game.
Go for it, man.
I think
Yeah,
it's.
go for
I
it.
think
Alright.
it's fine.
Where
I
else
think
is it
it's
going
fine.
to be talked about?
Yeah.
right.
Go for it.
All right. Was a DLC for the Resident Evil 4 remake. It was $10, and it is a blast. So you play as Ada Wong. They went through and they kind of re-added some of the things that weren't in the original remake that was in the original Resident Evil 4. And it's super fun. It definitely game does some really cool stuff with the story to add a little bit more context for things. And just in general was a blast to play. Just like Remake, which we'll talk about in a bit.
It looked very cool. And the grapple hook thing.
Yeah.
Looked
The grapple
awesome.
hook, surprisingly, like, you don't use it as much as you think you would. But they definitely some really cool combat encounters, definitely some really cool, like, puzzles, just like in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Really good time. Super quick, doesn't take that long to complete. But definitely is a worthwhile play.
How long of a DLC is it? Is it just like a few hours?
Yeah, I think I beat it in 4 hours, I believe, and that was just my first playthrough. So I'm sure if I ran through it again,
that's pretty good chunk of
for
DLC for only $10, and it's like more.
Oh yeah,
it's more of like the best fucking survival horror game of all time. So it's very easy sell.
Yeah, worth a play. Definitely not as good as Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah.
Definitely like not as tight with a bunch of just like mechanics and stuff. Like Alex, you said, like the grappling hook thing. Like they could have done so much more with it than what they did, but still really fun. Still worthwhile play.
Nice.
Okay,
That's why it's my number 10.
Yeah.
Ben, you're up.
Ben 10?
All right. My number 10 is Viewfinder.
Ooh, nice.
That
Somebody
was
else have
really funny.
Not on my list. Really wanted to play that this year, though.
Why is it funny?
No, Alex's comment was really funny.
Oh.
Ben 10.
Oh.
Oh,
Thank you, Aaron.
All right,
Yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge it.
Viewfinder is a
Talk about your game now.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm glad you're hosting the show. Viewfinder is a fun first-person puzzle game. I played this with my buddy John as like a kind of co-op stream. I streamed it to him. We kind of solved it all together. It's got a really cool like core mechanic, right? Where you take pictures of stuff, you can walk through the pictures, you kind of replace the world with what's in the picture. The story in it is rough. It's not good. There's a moment where you're supposed to, like, as a spoiler, I guess, I don't know, but where you're supposed to be like saving the world and something hilarious happens, and the way like it's supposed to be this very like somber moment and like very sad that you didn't be successful at first, but the way it's presented is just ridiculous cartoonish. So if you ever play it, look forward to that. But there's just like fun little things in it. The mechanic eventually kind of gets a little old and stale, but just that first 5 or 6 levels or whatever just makes that game so amazing, because you're just like, oh, if I place this picture here, then I can walk around this part of the environment. It goes back to the way like Portal felt when you first ever played Portal.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that game. Like the mechanic of the game. I hope they make a sequel with the same mechanic that isn't as weirdly preachy and like, I don't know, weird in the story department.
Focus on the puzzles.
Yeah, I would love to do like just challenge rooms of that, that style of game.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last night on Alex's stream. I only played a few hours off of it, and I only played a few hours of it rather, and fell off of it pretty hard. And I don't know why, but it's cool that it made it on your list for sure. My number 9 immediately. We're definitely going to talk about this more later with people who liked it much more than I did. My number 9 is Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, let me check my list real quick. Oh yeah, higher than that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
My number 9, I also guarantee we're going to talk about later. Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Ooh, number 9 for you. Okay, I'm interested. Okay. Yeah. From the conversation earlier, we're going to talk about my number 9 here in a bit, and that is, and I have checked to confirm, the Dead Space remake.
Yes, we will talk about that later.
Okay. All right, back to me then, I guess.
Yeah.
My number 9, and we'll probably talk about this one, I bet. My number 9 is Dredge.
Yeah.
Anybody have that higher than 9?
Wait, Alex, did you have it?
I do not have it higher than
9. Yeah, I guess I don't either. Yeah, it's lower on my list.
Played it and beat it and loved it, though.
Okay, so that's like...
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I played it and really loved the beginning of it, and then I got like stuck on some of those like weird bosses and like really fell off of it after that. But I think, like, again, I'm a very mechanics heavy kind of guy. So just like the mechanic of going out and the loop of going out, catching stuff, fitting it into that inventory, upgrading, like a fishing mechanic with an economy is always going to be, enjoyable. And we'll talk more about that idea later in a game that I think did it better this year. But Dredge, like, for people who really like the horror style of that, like, they're going to love it even more. That's not really my bag. The Cthulhu, like, style of stuff, like, I like it, but it's not like, amazing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, once I started to run into some of those roadblocks that they put in place and just, like, not understanding, I mean, I get good, but, like, I not understanding some of the, like, ways to solve the puzzles, I guess, if you want to call it that, and just some of the annoyances of it really got to me, and I stopped playing it, so. But I did like the little bit I played of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested with it with the, like, the horror aspect of it. Some of that sounds, like, right up my alley with what I've seen.
Yeah, and like I said, for fans of that style of like storytelling and like horror genre, I think they would really enjoy it, even just like watching a playthrough of it, because that stuff is very steeped in it. I thought some of the like, it's weird because it does some like Eternal Darkness style like sanity mechanics, and but like they really encourage you not to play in that space. Like, you're very much encouraged to like never see that, because you're supposed to like come back and dock during the night so you don't go insane. So there's not really much of a risk reward to like go out and like get your sanity meter all the way down to like catch better fish or anything like that, especially because even early on you fill up your inventory so fast. So I think just a little bit more of a game balance on that front would have made that a little bit more fun. But what I like, again, this is another one where I like really, really liked the beginning and really, really liked the loop and really, really liked some of the mechanics, but just didn't pull me through all the way to the end or really, inspire me in a way that was like, this is an amazing game. It's a good game. It's just not, crazy good.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where it's much more the horror aesthetic versus actually being scary. Like, they just nail the vibe. Like, for our awards we did last night, Josh and I made it one of our runner-ups for like style and vibe, because it is what it is. Like, it nails that. But I agree, it's like the beginning of the game, it kind of reminded me of like Deathloop in a way, where like the beginning of it had so much like promise and like felt so cool, but the longer I played it, it was like, oh, I'm kind of seeing some gaps here where it's not quite as great. Or like you said, the whole insanity thing, like, you start seeing stuff and going crazy. But what I found is the later I got in the game, my ship was bigger, and most importantly, it was so fast that I could just stay out until like 3 a.m, and it would take me 10 seconds to get to any dock. Like, it just didn't matter. I would do all my stuff and go do that. And also, like, once I kind of got to a point where I was like, I just want to grind out my ship. Like, I want to get all the upgrades I can. And once I finished buying everything, I no longer needed money, so I almost didn't need to fish anymore. Yeah, this was for a specific thing. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of just like doing checkboxes and stuff. So I don't know what the answer to that necessarily was. It was kind of just me going out of my way to like maximize stuff while I can.
Yeah.
In general, it's a very cool, unique vibe of that game. I really liked it. It was number 12 on
Okay.
my list, I believe.
That's funny. That's exactly where it's at on my list as well. So,
Nice.
so yeah. I played it when it first came out. Does anybody remember what month of last year it actually came out? Wasn't it early? Was it early last year?
Would have been. Let me check here.
Yeah, go ahead and check.
You got a 1 in 12 shot, Ben.
Yeah. I think I streamed it after, it was either before or after Resident Evil.
So yeah, it would have been in the first part of the year, I think, for sure.
Yeah, definitely first half.
Yeah, it's the first half. It's like March because I played it
Okay.
right after Chia, and I think I bought both those games at launch. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
For some reason, I don't know why, like you guys know I love fishing in games and I love horror stuff. So like this game should have clicked for me right off the bat. And for some reason, when I first started playing it, I played a few hours and then fell off really hard. And I don't know why. I was telling Alex and Ben about that, but then I got a Steam Deck in November, and I've put more time into it on the Steam Deck than I did on the Xbox because it is a perfect handheld like Steam Deck game. And something about it this time is working for me more. I've actually put 5 hours into it now on the Steam Deck, and I'm gonna see it through as best as I can. But yeah, the fishing little mini games are very fun. They change it up, depending on what area you're in or what kind of fish that you're fishing for. It has that same Dave the Diver thing going on where like one of the most memorable moments is the first time you run into a fish that's like fucking 10 times your size and how terrifying it is, and trying to run away on this little boat that like you haven't upgraded yet that's like going really slow, and then you get a fish that like bites your boat and you have to fix it. But yeah, really satisfying gameplay loop. Like I said early on, like the only complaint I had was just like it's a very short loop at first until you upgrade like your engine and your light to be able to stay out longer at night and everything. Very curious to see. I have not seen any of the boss battles yet after 5 hours, just because I have been grinding the ship upgrade pathway so hard. Because I think that's what made me fall off so hard the first time, was like feeling like I wasn't making any progress. Like it was the same loop over and over again. But now that I'm in a little bit of a groove with it, I'm hoping to stick with it and see it through to the end at some point this year. So yeah, Dredge, really, really cool game. That's definitely worth mentioning.
Yep.
So I think we're back to me. I don't know if
Number
you guys,
8.
I don't know if you guys had this higher on your list or not. So you just have to let me know. My number 8 is Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
It is higher for me.
Okay, we'll talk.
Yes, higher for me.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later then.
My number 8, this is definitely higher. Baldur's Gate 3.
I don't think it is.
Nope. Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah,
I only
because
played an hour of it, so I
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to do too much with it.
Yeah, and I haven't played any of it,
I
even though
neither
I
have
want
I.
to.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, honestly, this is the game that if I would have beat it, number 1. I can almost guarantee. But in playing, everyone says how long this game is. I think my farthest along save file, I think, was 80 hours, and Tiff and I got
Jeez.
maybe barely into Act 2, and there's 3 acts. So I haven't even seen Act 3, and I've seen very little of Act 2.
That's
But
insane.
holy shit, this game, yeah, dude, it's so good and it's so well made, and for all the hype it got, it is just so justified in every way. And like I said, it's only 8 for me because through no fault of even my own, I feel like the game's just so long that like to beat Baldur's Gate, it's just gonna take a long time, and it's gonna be the game Tiff and I come back to for a while. But I finished everything else ahead of it, so I just felt like I needed to go here. But I've loved D&D my whole life. My dad has been playing it since they literally created the game in the 70s when he was in school with his brothers. So like D&D has just been like a part of my family for a long time, and they have nailed so many aspects of what makes playing D&D fun. Like being able to do and create any type of person you want. You can do that in this game. Having cool like NPCs that fill out the party in fun ways. You could do that. It's great in co-op. Like Tiff and I had a blast playing together, and I couldn't imagine doing a full group of 4 in this game. It would just be incredible. All the voice acting, all the writing is so good, and it's like it is the closest thing in a video game I think I've ever played that like a dungeon master, their mind is you can come up with limitless ideas because it's just somebody thinking up of any possibility. And they've somehow gotten so close to coming up with that where there is thousands and thousands and thousands of outcomes. I think there's technically like 16,000 endings or something like that to this game. I saw when it came out, and it's sometimes like I struggled with it in the beginning where I love to like be a completionist. If I love a game, like I want to see everything. It is literally impossible in this game. You're not going to do it in one playthrough. So it's just let the game carry you away and be like, I think this would be cool. And every single time, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to talk to, how you want to approach anything, the game takes care of you and does it in a cool and fun way, and like the most obscure random offshoot you could go to, they somehow will come up and like write something that's really well written, voice acted, all that stuff. It's really fucking good, and the music slaps. It's I think I want to say it was on MinMax where they talked about like best new thing or like most satisfying thing or something like that. But like the rolling of dice in this game is something that like a lot of these tactical combat games I know like kind of do in the background. But something about them putting it on screen, watching the dice roll around, rooting for a number, and like if you get a crit or even a 1 in like a funny situation, it's satisfying every single time. And it's D&D as a video game, and it's perfect. And a lot of people have tried to make that and have failed. But this game fucking rules. It's very fun. If you like RPGs at all, you'll love it.
Yeah, I cannot wait to play it. I played an hour of it just so I could just kind of like jump in and just kind of see how it's designed.
Like, did you get off the ship, basically? Was that part?
Yeah, I got off the ship. Yeah, walked around a little bit of the opening area. But like, I just kind of immediately saw that I was going to get sucked into this game, and I was like, I got to play a couple things first, and then I'm just going to devote the first part of 2024 to this game.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. And like,
yeah,
I'd be curious how, because it's based on 5th edition D&D, and I like know those rules going into it, so a lot of like the combat and stuff like that, like it's very menu heavy games, so like that didn't really that wasn't like a learning curve I had to get over. So I'd be curious, like I have no idea if you guys have experience with D&D, but like going into it having nothing, like no knowledge of D&D or what like an action, a bonus action, all that stuff means, I'd be curious if that makes it harder to pick up like combat and stuff like that.
So I will definitely say, so like actually talking about that, like that's something that I wanted to see, right? I wanted to see the menus. I wanted to see just kind of how the design was, because I was hearing just kind of everything that you're saying right now, right? That like there's a lot, but that it's really like well done. So I would say like jumping into it, knowing that like there was a lot of systems and knowing that there was a lot of menus, like I had a lot of fun kind of exploring that and seeing what was there and doing some combat encounters and just kind of like seeing what my characters could do in the combat encounters. I think another reason why I wanted to wait before I really dove into it was just trying to figure out, you know, making sure that I understood everything really deeply. I knew it was going to take some time. But definitely not a barrier for entry. I think for me personally, just because I don't know, I don't mind menus, right? I'm having played RPGs for a long time. Like I like a good menu. I like a good system of, you know, of options. So yeah, it's something that's really cool about it.
Nice. Yeah, it's an awesome time. And as far as like, even at full price, like as far as like how much game time you can get out of it, like there's not much of a better value you can find out there than even $70 or $60, I think, on Steam is what I got it for. Just literally infinite amount of game that they packed in there, and all of it works. It is great. It's awesome. I love that game.
Yeah, I really want to get into it. But it's just like that's a summer game probably for me.
Yeah, it's so daunting. Yeah, it's a lot.
Alex, are you controller or mouse and keyboard?
So I never tried both. I liked using the mouse and keyboard, like with menus and like radial menus and stuff is what they usually default to for a keyboard. But my wife tried playing with controller for a little bit, and she was like, it was torn. I think what she ended up saying was she didn't like how combat felt, but she liked using a controller outside of combat because you can just free move with the analog stick. But in combat, it's where the menus get kind of clunky. So she's like, if I could fight with a controller and navigate around with the opposite, if I could fight with mouse and keyboard and navigate in between fights with a controller, like that would be my perfect method. But I got used to the way they like scroll and everything like that. And I'm not really a big mouse and keyboard guy, but when it's just clicking and menus and stuff, it wasn't as bad.
Cool. My number 8, Alex, you might have this on your list. It might be higher. Super Mario RPG.
I did play and beat that. That was my 14.
14. Okay. Talk about it too much. But I'll say that like I played a lot of RPGs this year. I think that it's a little bit lower on my list because I played some really good RPGs this year. and it definitely is very like old school. It definitely did some like new improvements from the original, which I had played a little bit of. But really fun game, pretty well paced, not too long, which was nice for an RPG. Just really nice to just kind of jump in, beat the game, did some of the challenge stuff at the end, which was really, I felt like really well done. But yeah, really, really good time. I was excited that they did the remake, so that way I could play the whole thing. Because I played the original back in the day, but like I said, it was just kind of like, I don't know, it was slow, so I didn't spend too much time in it. And I was excited to see just like this. It felt tight. It felt that things just kept moving, and I don't know, good time.
Yeah, I mentioned it in my Game of the Year videos that game feels like, and maybe hopefully you'll get to experience this someday, being an RPG dad. That I feel like Mario RPG is like baby's first RPG. It would be perfect for that, and like I don't even mean that as a slight, as like an adult who's played other ones. Like it's simple, but not in a like boring way. Like I had a really great time. It's a Nintendo game, so everything looks beautiful. Because of another game we'll talk about later, like active timing in turn-based combat now, like that's the only way I ever want to do turn-based combat now, because you're just more involved, and that aspect is really fun, and it's just got like a cool, it's a Mario story that you would expect, and I also had never played it back in the day, so this was like my time to play it, and I really liked it.
Yep. All right, Ben. Number 8.
All right. My number 8 is Call of Duty Warzone DMZ.
Oh yeah, so it's on my list. I just put it as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and I figured we weren't going to talk about it just because you didn't actually buy the game this year. Like I said, you can talk about it now because I didn't put Warzone or DMZ or any of the like standalone free stuff in my top 10. But yeah, we'll get to it whenever I do my honorable mentions. The multiplayer was the most enjoyable thing for me this year in actual Modern Warfare 3, but I did have a good time playing like Warzone and DMZ with you guys too.
Yeah, I think DMZ was on my list last year, but this year is the year that we really, really dove into it, because I think it came out like November of 2023, right?
Yeah.
And so this was the year that it got better. Like it kept getting updates. I've never seen, like, I don't play a ton of living games. Like I played Fortnite for a while, right? But like this game just like got weird, interesting updates all throughout the year.
Yeah.
This was the year where you got like your forward operating base stuff, where it made a lot of like the looting part actually worth it, kind of, so that you could go in and like, I had a shopping list. I have a whole like freaking little field notes notebook made up of like stuff that I was working towards in the game. Like it was just like really interesting, and I could play it solo and go and like accomplish like different mission objectives and stuff, and then we play it together. And like with my friend, like with Josh, we would play sometimes. My friends Chaz and Brandon, we would play sometimes. And it was just like, man, it was unlike anything I had played before, and it just really hit a sweet spot. They like brought in like new maps, they brought in like new weapons, and the really bummer thing of it is that like now it doesn't count towards anything really, like other than itself, because they like disconnected it from Modern Warfare 3 or whatever. And so what we're hoping is that like later on in 2024 there's like a sequel to it, but it just feels like they sidelined it so hard, and now I don't feel as like interested in it for whatever reason, even though the core loop of it's still fun, like the PvP of it's still fun. It's just, it just feels like weird. But I really, like, especially at the beginning of this year and even throughout the summer, just fell in love with that game and just played it so much. And I think like it's just really interesting. Like they added so much stuff to it this year. So yeah, if you like extraction shooters, if you like Call of Duty mechanics, I think it made up for the lack of like good Warzone 2 stuff.
Yeah.
Like that they started at the like with Modern Warfare 2, because I just didn't enjoy those mechanics at all.
No.
And just the way that like the TTK and all that stuff like felt, it was just bad. But this, you could have a lot longer drawn out fights. You had your own like objectives to do. It just was cool, and there's like a lot of cool like Easter egg stuff and like weird places you could go, and just it was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
nice.
You guys are way more into it than I was, but I can't deny that some of my best gaming experiences last year, like when DMZ really clicked with the four of us or the three of us, more often than not. Some of the best highlights of last year were whenever we would actually succeed at what we were trying to do in DMZ, like winning a gunfight, like the moment to moment stuff for sure. Always felt really good. It's cool that Warzone has found its way back around to being like fun and playable now, but you're 100% correct that from Warzone Caldera all the way through Warzone 2.0, this game filled that gap for us in a major way.
Yeah, it really did.
We played a lot of it. Like I think honestly, like I don't know about me, but I know you guys probably played just as much of that as like we played the first Warzone, like when it first dropped. So,
if not more.
Yeah, it was the closest thing to like that kind of vibe. Like obviously you guys were way bigger fans of DMZ than I was. Like I'm just much more of a multiplayer guy overall. And it's cool that Warzone is fun for us now and again. But yeah, DMZ was a really cool mode. I mean, it's like Escape from Tarkov without like the extremely like complicated, difficult mechanics that Tarkov has. Like Tarkov is something I don't think any of us would dive into. So this is a cool way. It was kind of a way for us to carry on like the Rainbow Six Extraction too. Like, cause we fell off of that whenever that game we kind of dead ended with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
The only reason DMZ is dead ended now is because they've stopped supporting it. Like, we would all still probably be playing it. Like, that's a big part of Call of Duty is like, because I played so many other games last year, I didn't make as much progress in COD as I normally would. Like, I didn't prestige every single season,
Right.
And part of that now is because like I don't play Warzone and DMZ with you guys as much anymore. So like I'm not leveling up as much as I could be. So it is hard. It's just the number go up, brain feel good part of it that you're missing with DMZ now that really sucks is like you're not really working towards anything. So like the people left that are still playing DMZ are like people like you that just want to play it for fun and want to do the fun building 21 runs. And it's like now you literally have nothing to lose. Like you can just play those with no consequences. So yeah, I'm glad to see that on your list for sure. It deserves representation.
Yeah, and the other thing I just want to talk about, because I forgot to mention this, is just like I don't really get into like gaming communities, like I'm in like the Min-Max Discord server or whatever, but me and my buddy started watching this guy called Fixate, and you've watched him a little bit too, Josh, I think.
Yeah.
Of just like he's a DMZ streamer, and he streamed 7 days a week, like 6 to 10 hours a day, like of DMZ.
Damn.
And it was just like fun to like watch that and like get immersed in it and like go look up builds. Like I still have like as one of my tabs is open, one of the the Warzone hub like maps for one of the maps, because there's no like actual map in the game, and it's like kind of like a puzzle map. So to like have that up and just be like ready to go and like look at different like loadouts and stuff like that. Just getting into the more meta pieces of the game, whereas like normally like I don't care about any of that because it's not important, but this made it feel important, and the changes felt important. I was like reading patch notes, like I was like, okay, so the patch notes are going to come out on Tuesday at noon. I'm like refreshing and trying to load up like what are they going to change, and because like I said earlier, like stuff was changing, like every patch, every season, and every half season something interesting or different at least was happening in DMZ. And it seemed like they were responding to the community and like dealing with like different issues and just making interesting or like changing a lot of stuff. And was it always great? No, but was it always like, okay, they're trying something at least? A lot of games feel like they just get kind of stuck in their ways, and maybe they like do a little bit of weapons tuning here and there, but not like, well, now, like, because before it was like, oh, if you down someone, you could like add them to your team. But then like this one patch hit where it's like, no, you just can't do that anymore. Or like just the fact that you could add someone to your team after you killed them. Like, oh, we're adding this like plea mechanic in, and you can see all these people across the map. And if you go rescue them, they can be on your team. And it's just really like wild stuff. I mean, I think they have them in Warzone now, but like the specialty vests, like the stealth vest and the medic vest, like all that started in DMZ. So it felt like this really cool like playing ground for game mechanics for Call of Duty that you just normally wouldn't see, and so it was cool. No,
I like that you pointed that out for sure. It was refreshing for them to support that because they certainly weren't doing that with Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer or that previous Warzone at all. They didn't give a shit what the community thought. And I know you haven't played any of the Modern Warfare 3, but they really have been listening to the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer community, and especially been listening to like the pro streamers and like the CDL players. And I do feel like the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer experience is a lot stronger than 2. So hopefully they keep up this streak of actually listening to the people that put their time and money into their game. What a fucking concept. I know. But yeah, I'm really glad that we had this time to talk about that because like I said, you guys liked it a lot more than I did. But undeniably, it'd be stupid to say that some of my best moments last year weren't because of DMZ, because they were. And just getting to bond with Brandon and Chaz too. Like I never really I mean, I was always like passive friends with them, but I became pretty good friends with them over the course of the last year because of DMZ. So yeah, very cool. So we're on 7 now, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
so
sevens.
I think this will be my chance to talk about a game because I think I ranked it higher than Alex did. Alan Wake 2 is my number 7.
Aaron?
What if I told you that it was my number 1?
I'd call you a fucking liar.
Then you'd be correct.
So Alex, I think we're the only Ben hasn't played Alan Wake 2 and Aaron hasn't played it. Let's you want to take a little bit of time? Let's talk about Alan Wake 2 a little bit. Aaron, do you want us to avoid spoilers completely?
Kinda, because I'm gonna play it in like 3 years or something like that.
Yeah. And you have a better memory than I do. So it's like if I didn't play a game for 3 years, I would forget the spoilers by next week. So you have a better memory.
So here's what I can do. I can mute for a minute and you can text me whenever you're done.
Yeah, I feel like because we didn't go into spoilers on Alex's stream last night because I didn't know if you were still watching or not. I would like to talk about some of the spoilery stuff here since I won't have any other place to talk about it.
So here's what I'm going to do.
I'll text you when we're completely done talking about Alan Wake 2. And we'll try not to go on for too long because we did cover a good bit of it last night. But I do want to talk about some of the spoilery stuff. Ben, you don't care about spoilers, right?
Nope.
Okay. All right, Aaron, I'll text you. I'll send you a text when we're done.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Alex, Alan Wake 2. As I mentioned last night, if this game to me had actually been the perfect 10 horror game that some people made it out to be, it could have been close to that for me too. It could have been one of my favorite horror games of all time. But pretty early on, I started running into some issues where I was like, even if the rest of this game is perfect, there's no way it's going to rank anywhere near a 10 for me. Last year was really weird with game reviews. I feel like a lot of people used hyperbole and gave perfect 10s out to games that I don't think were perfect 10s like at all. And I don't know what the weird phenomenon with this game was. It's like people were like looking at it through rose-colored glasses, like not criticizing it for whatever reason, like even though there are some pretty glaring flaws with it. The game-breaking bugs within the first like month of that game being out was something I just didn't see a ton of people talking about, and it was a really weird phenomenon for me. The one part I told you where I got stuck on and I had to replay a 30-minute segment 3 times in a row and then figure out my own way to get around a game-breaking bug. Immediately, that's a red flag for me for any game, and I'm sure it is for you too with this. You didn't encounter that specific thing, right?
No, I was going to say, did you play on Xbox?
No, PS5.
Okay, so we both play on PS5.
Yeah, so it seems like all the consoles had their different weird issues, and I feel like Xbox was the one that got fixed last for some reason too. Like PC was fine for the most part. PS5 I think had the most issues, and then Xbox had a lot of issues that didn't get fixed until after PS5 and Xbox or PC got fixed. So overall, this game is insanely cool though. Like it does some shit that I've never seen in any other video game before, which is the saving grace of this game for me. Probably the most successful implementation of a combination of FMV and gameplay stuff. It like mends those things together, weaves those things together so seamlessly that it's so fucking impressive. Like
they built on Control. Like Control had some, and this was like times 10.
You could tell that
every time is cool.
They took everything that they learned from their previous games and applied it to this, and then turned it up even further. And you can definitely tell that this was a passion project. So besides the game-breaking bugs and my other issues with the game, which my other issues I guess I could talk about, like some of the navigation I thought was pretty poorly designed. The map I didn't think was very helpful. I probably spent at least, I'm trying to think of how long I played this game. I'd have to look at my final time. I think I told you it was something like 25 hours, something in that neighborhood. I think I played it. And you played more than I did because you got the platinum. I probably spent
like 30.
Probably a good 3 or 4 hours of that game time for me was wandering around trying to figure out what to do next. It's just being lost. That's a huge flaw for me too. And it's like if I'm playing a really immersive horror game, the last thing I want to be doing is getting frustrated because I don't know where to go and what to do, because the game is already stressful enough in certain aspects. Like you never know when you're going to get jump scared. They have enemies wandering around that are like shadow people, and you never know when one of those is an actual enemy that's going to jump out and grab you. And I know watching your stream, I know I watched a lot of moments where like you would be frustrated like I was and trying to navigate the map, and you would just get into a fight that like would kill you, and it would make it extra frustrating. So yeah, I don't want to sit here and bitch about this game and make it sound like the worst thing ever, because it's really not. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10, which is why I thought it should be 7th on my list compared to the other stuff I have. There are some really cool things about this game that I really liked a lot. The like live action stuff that they did in this is like second to none for me. It was so cool and implemented so well, which is why I think we need to talk about We Sing, the best moment in this video game. Ben, do you know what We Sing is? Have you heard enough about this to know what this is? Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know, the chapter titles come up in really big, bold lettering in this game. And when the words We Sing came up on my screen, I think I literally said out loud, what the fuck does We Sing mean? What is this chapter going to be? And so you're in a sound studio, and all of a sudden these giant Titantron screens light up, and a musical number starts up that lasts for like 13 minutes or more. At least that's how long the track is on Spotify. And it's the characters that you've been playing as the whole time, like their live action counterparts, like doing a choreographed dancing and singing number. And it's just insane that how fucking good it was. And the fact that it was in a horror game. And it's like, it was cheesy, but in the best, most charming ways. Not only that, but then as you're playing through it, you were playing like through these little vignette like scenes from the first Alan Wake that kind of like are summing up the experience of what you played in the first one. And they're also like singing the story of the first Alan Wake in the musical number too. It just, that was my number one oh shit moment for our awards last night. And it's just, there's a reason for that. There were a lot of moments like that in this game where you're like, holy shit, these guys really went for it and they nailed a lot of it. And that's why I think it's such a fucking shame that I had so many issues with it, because it could have easily been a 9 out of 10 for me. Like I hesitate to give 10 out of 10s to a lot of things just because it's hard for me to think of like a perfect game. Like Rock Band is probably a perfect game. Rocket League is probably a perfect game, but it's hard for me to throw out the word perfect for games, you know? But this was a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I wish I would have liked it more. I wish I wouldn't have had the issues that I had with it. But the story was really cool. It kept me pretty invested the whole time. There wasn't really like an emotional attachment for me with the story this time around. But they did, I feel like, nail what they were going for with the story. Like we were talking about last night, we really don't like when games do the thing where they force you to play like New Game Plus to see the true good ending. And this game does that for sure. They make you play through the whole game again with the New Game Plus to see the real good true ending. And so because I came off of Alan Wake to playing 25 hours of it being frustrated, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna look up somebody who can tell me what happens. And the ending was really ambiguous and confusing, and sure enough, the New Game Plus mode cleared that right up, and it was a very cool ending to the game and very easily set up for an Alan Wake 3. So I'm sure we'll get that in the next 20 years at some point, because there was 13 years between the first few games. And that was another thing, is they made it feel like the time had passed in real time, like Alan had aged, you know? And they just, if you want to talk about it a little bit more now too, I feel like I'm just going to shut up about it because I'll just keep talking about it. But you know, there's more good to this game than bad, I feel like, is the main thing. But the bad things were just bad enough to bring it down for me by enough to where it was a little bit disappointing for me this year.
It definitely, so it's weird. I think the game is like incredible, and it's something I've never experienced anything close to what this game is. And it was because of that is why the problems I had didn't really get to me. And like, they really did get less and less of an issue the farther along I got. Like,
yeah, that's
it's
fair.
It's one of those games that it's so different and unique. You kind of need to learn how the game wants to be played. And like the first time you're Saga exploring an area, it's very confusing because you don't quite understand what they're doing. And then you follow that up with the first time you're Alan in an environment, like storyboarding a thing, and like you're like, wait, what? I don't understand like what I need to do here. But once you figure it out, it does get a lot better. And like, I've just never played a game that was so interesting, like you said, with the FMV, the use of music, the way it's just so atmospheric and like terrifying. Like
genuinely
the scariest
scary
part in this game, is a segment where nothing happens. You just go. There's a section where you're exploring a nursing home, and they love doing the shit, the power's out. You got to go put the power on in the basement. Like they do that a couple times. But the time you do it in there, it's just got this crazy music. You're just convinced it's been a game of jump scares. They're gonna get you. They're gonna get you. And like that time they don't. And that almost fucked with me more than anything else. Was like I thought I could predict what they're doing. And then like you come back later, everything seems to be fine, and that's when they get you.
Yeah.
And like there'll be different things that pop up on screen, and like they'll just know that you're gonna be looking at something on screen, and that's the exact spot where they'll put something that gets you. and I ended up platinuming this game because I wanted to play it off stream to get some of the collectibles and stuff, and I realized, oh shit, I can get this platinum, I think. So I ended up going for it, which I never thought I was going to do. But it's, yeah, for a game that had, some problems that were super annoying. Like I said, I didn't even have any, like, the worst bug I had was I found one of those, like, words of power or whatever on something that just would not scan. Like, I could not get it. I could see it, I'd aim at it, I'd put the light on it. It just didn't work. And I looked it up, and apparently it was just a very common PS5 bug. And I was like, I'm playing this 2 months after this game came out, and I still, when I was trying to get the platinum, I went back to that spot, still couldn't get it. And I was like, that's fucking crazy that they haven't fixed this yet. But I love what Remedy is doing, and like, I would rather them be weird and goofy and go out there and then have some like clunkiness to it at times than them just make like a cookie cutter game that doesn't do all the weird shit. Like, I think it was lower on my list because this year was amazing, but it's worth the issues for them to make a game like this so that it exists, in my opinion. And it just rules.
They cleaned up a lot of stuff from the first game too. Like the shooting felt a lot better. The fact that pointing your flashlight at something or just like aiming didn't drain your flashlight constantly. The fact that you had to actively push a button to use the flashlight. There were a lot of really good quality of life improvements that shone through. No pun intended. The last thing I'll talk about was the crime board. I know it wasn't nearly as big of an issue for you, but that was another glitch I had. Like the crime board is a very huge issue not a huge issue, but like huge gameplay part of that, where you go into like the mine place and they want you to take these photos. It's basically like the fucking It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie, with like the strings on the pictures on the cork board. But I just thought that it was featured way too much in the game, and it was just, the game was very talky, especially with Alan. And like, he was, in my mind, the least interesting character in that game, like just because they let him drone on for so long about just absolutely nothing. And a lot of the mind place was just like Saga coming to these conclusions that like a real person probably wouldn't after such a short amount of time. But that was what the crime board was for, was to like bridge together story gaps. And some of it was cool. But again, when I really started to get fed up is when I had an issue with the crime board where I got frozen in the crime board and couldn't proceed and had to restart the game and lost progress and had to go back to a checkpoint. And then near the end of the game, I told you I straight up had 2 cards that just wouldn't go anywhere on the crime board. So I couldn't have even seen what they wanted to say during that part anyway. So again, overall, really, really fascinating, cool, awesome game in some respects, but just enough problems about it to where I'm like, I can't fathom how anybody could give this game a 10 out of 10, no matter how good of an experience that you would have with it, because there were just so many problems with it. But 7 out of 10 is not a bad score. I think that's a weird thing that people got into last year. It's like, man, if a game gets lower than an 8, it must be dog shit, or like if a game's not an 8 or 9 or 10, it's just terrible. Like that was a huge thing I saw last year, and it's like, no, like a 7 out of 10 is a really good score still for a game. So yeah, that's all I have to say on it, I think.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to text Aaron and tell him that we are done. So we are done. So yeah, I know, Ben, horror games aren't your thing, so it's nothing that you would want to play ever. But
I think I think I'll probably play Control at some point. I have that.
Yeah.
And so like it seems interesting. Like from what I've heard, it's not like the scariest game alive. So I might play Alan Wake, but it's just like those third-person story games have never been my bag.
Yeah.
Really. And so like, but everything that I like, because I listen to everything, listen to so many Game of the Year things, and it sounds really interesting. And I think like Alex was saying, like it's cool that a game like this exists. But I think it got a lot of traction off of just like doing new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Compared to like games that were like not necessarily playing it safe, but like weren't doing anything interesting. And I think that's where like you have to go between like, well, is it criticism? Like what is a review for, etc. When you get into like review or discussion.
Whoa, Ben! Spoilers.
Man, I love it when you join a conversation when I'm talking. It's great.
Great game, pal. Thanks a lot, Ben.
So that was my number 7, Alan Wake 2. Yeah, so I think it's Alex's turn.
Alex is number 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
My number 7, I think I'll be able to talk about here. Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, didn't play it.
I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Okay. So I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Like, I've seen the movies. I like them just fine, but they're not really, like, as far as the major fandom, Star Wars really isn't my usual cup of tea. And I'm also not a, like, Souls guy. And this is, like, it's not nearly as crazy in the Souls combat, but it is in that style. So it's kind of crazy that I like this game at all. But I played Fallen Order because my buddy Grayson played it and loved it. So I gave that a try. I thought it was fun. Jedi Survivor is so much better than that game. Like, it's actually amazing. Every single, I think we lost Aaron. Every single part of that game is just fun to play, and the story's nothing crazy. Like, it's kind of your general, Cal is on the run from the Empire. They need to do a job. He's got to get the gang back together from the first game, and there's this MacGuffin item that we gotta take it to the place or else we're gonna all die. Like, that whole shit. We got the Empire's trying to get it. Like, none of that stuff's particularly, over the top or anything unique. But the game itself, it's so much more fun to run around as Cal in this game. It's actually like a very underrated, like, 3D puzzler platformer at certain points. Like, because between your jump, your double jump, your dash, and there's some other mechanic they add into the navigation. I haven't played it since it came out in May, but there's just these sequences where it's like, okay, I can wall run. That's it. It's like, okay, I can tell I can wall run here, jump, double jump to this other wall, and then they eventually add in, there's these like green like force fields that you can go through, that when you go through those, they recharge your dash. So you end up doing all these like chaining together where like it's ends up being, like I said, really fun to run around and explore these open worlds just for the sake of, there's going to be some hallway where you got to do some cool ass platforming to get like a chest that has like some cool clothes or something, or the best ones are like an extra healing, like Estus Flask type mechanic or whatever. But they also made the combat better in this one, where I thought in the first game you end up fighting a lot of enemies that have their attacks that happen on timers, and they can just like stagger them in a way where I would just feel like I have no shot here. Like, I just have to just sit here and be attacked forever and wait a really long time for my opening. That, like, patience is important in these, but there's gets to a point where I'm like, I'm just gonna start attacking because like that's what I want to do. And the first game I thought it was more like spammy in the enemies, whereas then this one there's fewer enemies that you can kind of like really focus on and get to learn their attacks. That felt like the closest. Oh, I think this is what people who like Dark Souls like about those games, is like I would see an enemy and know their like rotation basically, or their types of attacks they could do, and it was just really satisfying to learn that stuff. And it's also got like a really cool moment. Does anybody care about a slight spoiler to this game? I know you probably don't, Ben, because you don't
I
care about
don't.
spoilers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, go for it.
there's a moment where basically Cal's mentor, God, I cannot remember her name actually now that I'm thinking about it, but she is like this badass Jedi, and there's a moment where Cal's away doing a mission, and where their home base is gets attacked by the Empire, and you get to play as her for a while, and she has way more force power, she's way more powerful, like it's like a huge step up, and you're just like wiping out stormtroopers left and right. And then all of a sudden Darth Vader shows up, and the first game ends with Darth Vader being there, but then you get to fight Darth Vader as her, and it's probably the second hardest fight in the game next to the last boss, and it's just very satisfying, and it's just like a lot of cool phases and stuff. And of course it ends with, clearly you're not going to kill Darth Vader. Spoiler, he's in later events in Star Wars, but he ends up killing her, and it's this really like touching moment for Cal and the group. Like, they lost somebody, and like I think that's where stuff in Star Wars stories, I feel like when it becomes like personal is where it hits the best, and it just hit really well after a really fun segment of the game. And the final boss ends up being one of your friends in your group has, he's been bad the whole time, like one of those things. And I wasn't really like paying attention for it, but it actually did, like, his justification for why he was bad worked. Like, in a game with a story that ultimately wasn't anything to write home about, there was individual moments I thought were really cool, mixed in with much better combat, I think, and more fun exploration and stuff like that, with some quality of life updates that I feel like the third game in this, because I'm pretty sure they've already confirmed they're working on the next one, and they set it up for a third game in the trilogy. But it's really cool, and I honestly don't even think you need to play Fallen Order to play this game if anyone's ever interested. I really liked it a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I think Aaron said he's going to play this new one. I fell off of Fallen Order pretty hard just because I don't like the Dark Souls type combat. It was a little bit too difficult for me. But we talked about it last night, but I've fallen off of Star Wars stuff in a pretty major way since like I didn't like episode 9. Andor is the only Star Wars thing that I really even care about anymore. Like I would definitely watch more of that. Honestly, just because like it's barely even Star Wars. It's just an insanely good show. Like I haven't even watched Mandalorian past like the first 1.5 seasons. I don't think. I think it was right around that time, like like Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan show and all that, and episode 9 I just fell off. Kind of the same thing with Marvel stuff too, and we'll talk about it later with Spider-Man more obviously, but that was a good point you made last night where you were like it's really says something that you as a non-Marvel fan can be interested in Spider-Man games so much because of how good they are. So it's cool that you apply the same thing with like a Star Wars game, like you're really into it even though you're not like a big Star Wars guy.
Yeah, like these are probably my favorite Star Wars thing, definitely recently.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They're really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it. I liked Fallen Order. Just didn't get a chance to get around to this one. But yeah, I'm pumped to play it whenever I get a chance.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and last note, you could just give Cal this like dirt white trash mullet and these handlebar mustache that make him look insane. And just imagine him being this torn Jedi running around looking like that is fantastic.
How this isn't your game of year because of that, I'll never know.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
All right. We're on number 7, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I think somebody has this higher. My number 7 is Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I don't.
I do not.
That is my number 7.
Damn.
Oh, perfect. Back to back too.
Ben, we'll double team this one.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And then anyone else can jump in too. Ben, I'll let you go first because you would have been the second one to get this one, like as your number 7. So go for it. Take it away.
That's how numbers work. Aaron, the math major. Yeah, I don't know. I liked. I haven't played a 2D Mario game in forever. I didn't play any of the Wii ones. I think I played Odyssey when I got my Switch, and that was a lot of fun. I like 2D platformers, like especially hardcore ones. And I think I've probably gone back to maybe play like the first Super Mario Brothers on something at some point. I'm sure, whether that was like original Nintendo. I think every now and then I would play Super Mario Brothers 3 on my Nintendo. I was playing that a few years ago, and that's fun. But yeah, I was just like excited to play this, and the multiplayer is really what sold me on this.
Yeah.
The online multiplayer, like playing that with you guys, like, and that's like like I played it that day, and I haven't really gone back to it since. But it just left such a fun little impression on how to do a multiplayer, like how to do a platformer like that. That I really liked. And obviously, I know people have talked about their issues with local multiplayer, but I don't have anybody to play with like that here. So the online multiplayer part was really neat. Yeah, so it was really neat, and I think it's just like a clever way to do it. The little races that we got into when we would play, I thought that was a cool idea, like just being able to race on any level, like, and it's the same level. I think the little like unique mechanics are cool for each level because of the Wonder Flower, stuff like that. I don't know. I just I went into it with very low expectations just because I didn't really know what to expect. I saw some people play it, I think, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And like it was kind of a spur of the moment, impulsive purchase, but I really enjoyed what I played of it. And I could see myself like going back to it very easily to like 100% it just because of like the unique ways that it presents all of its levels and just it seemed like you could do it without a guide and like you wouldn't have to do like super hardcore stuff. Like I've heard stuff about like the final levels and stuff that they're really hard. But
yeah,
I think
I was going to say good luck with the 100% with that.
Well, I mean, I feel like that would be something I would like to grind out that stuff. Like I don't get too mad about like playing a platformer like that over and over again, playing those levels, especially because it seemed like you don't have, well, at least when we're playing multiplayer, and like if you turn the online on, like the fact that you can get rescued and the fact that it seemed like most of the levels are pretty snappy and not like excessively long. Like I know some Mario levels tend to be like pretty long, but these ones were fairly short. Like it seemed like, unless they were auto scrollers, but then they're auto scrollers, that you just kind of checkpoint over and do again. So everything just felt good in it. It felt like a really good game to play, and most of the time that's what I'm looking for in a game. Something that feels good to play. The overworld was cool. There's the little like collectible like standees or whatever, which is always fun to have, something to
Yeah.
shoot towards, I guess, having as a goal. So yeah, I don't know. What do you have to say about it, Aaron? Anything
I would
to
say
add?
for me, I really like had the Nintendo consoles whenever 2D Mario games have come out. Like I've like obviously went back and played them, but I'm always playing them like years after they've come out. So
Mhm.
this is the first time that like a 2D Mario game has come out, and I've like played it right whenever that's happened. And I don't know, it sucked me in way more than what I thought it would. And I didn't 100% it, but I got pretty far, like with some of the completion stuff near the end. And I just had a blast with it. I don't know, playing it way more than I thought I was going to, got way more into it than when I thought I was going to. And just loved, just just kept going back to it. And I will say, like, the stuff that you're talking about, like, I had a blast with you with that. So, I don't know, it was fun playing it by myself and doing everything I did by myself, but it was also fun, like, replaying part of it again with you. So, yeah, fun game.
Yeah. The thing that I would say is like the only reason it's number 8 on my list is just because of how good of a year it was for games. Like I feel like I didn't really have any problems with this game, like, as opposed to other games on my list. Like I feel like in 2022 this would have been a top 5 game for me probably compared to last year, or like even how 2024 seems like it might be shaping up to be less of a banger year than 2023. But yeah, the multiplayer mode with you guys was definitely the highlight of it for me too. But in general, I think it's one of the best 2D Mario games that they've ever made, which isn't a big bar to clear anymore these days because of some of the more lackluster ones that they've put out in between like the original really good ones and then these new ones. But yeah, I mean, really no complaints about it whatsoever. It's just kind of default lower on my list because of how strongly I felt about a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, it's by far the lowest on mine of all of us. I think it was 15 for me. And that's no fault of like anything I had wrong with that. I've the only other 2D Mario game I've ever really played was Super Mario 3 when I was real little, and then I got it for my Game Boy Advance. And like, if I like Mario games, they're just not usually my like cup of tea. And I just found myself, I played it. I was like, this is really cool. I love the look. I love the sound. The Wonder Flowers are really fun. Um, I just kind of like, oh, I'm done. And like, maybe I'd play it with friends if I went back to it at all. But like, as far as like just me playing it, I couldn't see myself going back to it. But yeah, I could tell what it was doing was really good. It just wasn't necessarily my like favorite type of game in a year of bangers from genres I do like more. But it is a really well made game and kind of a surprise if I remember right. They dropped that and they're like, oh shit, a 2D Mario game. Like,
Yeah.
that was really
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, I'll say for me, like they showed it, and I was like, I don't care about this. Like, I'm like,
yeah.
I could care less about this. And then it came out, and then reviews started popping up, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll at least try it. And
Yep.
yeah, I had a blast with it. Honestly, the four of us should jump in together at some point and do some co-op in it because I think you'd really like the mechanics that they have.
Yeah, because I played it mostly solo, and I played it with my brother at like 3 a.m. locally on my Extra Life stream, and I could see like it's that fixed camera when you're in local multiplayer just sucks.
Yeah,
Like
I
that.
played
So,
that multiplayer like in person with 2 children at some point, and it was chaotic.
oh yeah,
I was basically trying to make sure that I had control of the camera and I didn't die, or else I knew that we were in for a nightmare.
exactly, yeah.
Okay. I think we're on number 6 now. So I'll go ahead and say my number 6. This might be higher for Ben, but I'm not 100% sure. My number 6 is Dave the Diver.
Yes, that's higher.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. So we'll move on to Alex.
My number 6 is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Much higher for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it higher.
Yep.
My number 6, I think, is higher for you, Alex. It's Final Fantasy 16.
Yep, I have it higher than that. We're in
And?
a stretch right here.
And my number 6 is a game that didn't come out this year, but a game I played for the first time this year, which is WarioWare Inc.
Nice.
Not fair.
Oh yeah,
Can't do
Is
it.
that the GBA one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Really good
so
game.
Aaron inspired me to get a Chinese handheld like emulation device this year. We were gonna work on it together, and then I don't know. I think he probably worked on it more than I did. I don't know. Yeah, and then his broke, so we just kind of stopped toying around with it. But for a little while, I was doing a bunch of random stuff on it, and I just kind of like was looking at all the games that came on it, and WarioWare Inc. was one that came on it, and I never really played any of those WarioWare games. So like, oh, I'll play this like right before bed, and then like an hour later, I'm like, oh, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so it's just it's kind of exceptional just lesson in game design. Like there's just all these little games, and I'm sure people who have played them before are like, yeah, dude, of course. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was a fun, like, right before bed kind of game. You would play a few micro games. I rolled credits on it within like the first 2 days of playing it, but then just to go back and kind of try to do the infinity stuff of just trying to play as much as possible of like a certain type of micro game or a certain character's micro games. It was just really fun, and I would like to play more WarioWare.
I'm so happy you're talking about that. It's one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games of all time. I absolutely love that game. I played that on what was the one that like flipped open the SP?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I had like
fine.
the dark like cobalt red one. It was just such a fucking sick console. Like the Game Boy Advance was so fucking good. There's so many good games on that. I actually have the new WarioWare on Switch, and the only reason I haven't touched it is because the last half of the year has been rough, and I just have not been feeling like getting up and moving around like for the Switch
Yeah.
game. But I've heard really good things about the new WarioWare game, so I'm excited to play that on Switch at some point. I feel like if I have any of you guys over in person in the near future, it would be a really fun game to play together, especially since like they added like a weird Mario Party mode to the new WarioWare as well. And Dan Reichert, number one Mario Party fan, confirmed, said that it's even more bullshit and fun than Mario Party in some ways. So I feel like that's something we got to try out at some point.
Heck yeah.
All right. So back to me again.
Five.
My number 5, Alex. I can't remember where you put this on your list. I think it's higher. Spider-Man 2 is my number 5.
Yep, mine
Okay.
is higher.
All right.
My number 5, I could see being higher on everybody else's list, is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Didn't play.
Oh, much higher.
Okay.
Yes, higher.
Yep.
My number 5, I feel like is cheating, but it is also not, is the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, because they came to Switch at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, go for it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll talk about it for just a quick second. Really, like, I had played a little bit of all of them except for 3, because 3 was never really properly released in the US until it came out for like the Nintendo DS or something like that. So they came out at the beginning of this year, and they were just a great like pick up and play for a little bit before I go to bed sort of thing. There is, I don't want to call them cheats, but I mean they're essentially cheats like built into the game where it just kind of speeds up everything. And that was just I did that for most of the games just because it was a very fun way to like just kind of pick up and just very, very casually play and get a chance to like immerse myself again in those stories. So yeah, it was a really good time playing those. I'd always heard how good 6 was, had never had a chance to get all the way through 6. And it was really fun to like actually get to play the whole thing and get a chance to experience that entire story. Some of those boss battles near the end of those games are difficult, and surprisingly so, even with those cheat engines like giving you more experience if you play the game. I got to some of those end game levels and I was like, whoa, this would have been real rough back in the day. But yeah, all of those games are just very special to me, and just in general are just, I mean, they're special games and have like a really big impact in just the design of RPGs and how RPGs have evolved, especially back in the day whenever those were made. So it was really fun getting a chance to play them and getting a chance to really dive into the mechanics of those games again for some of them. And yeah, that's why they'd be my number 5.
Aaron, remember whenever we did a Final Fantasy V playthrough on this channel here for a little bit, and then we stopped
Final Fridays.
Final Fridays.
Final Friday.
Remember we stopped playing because the Steam release of Final Fantasy V was pretty bad.
I sure do.
you remember-
I'll tell you just in general, Final Fantasy V goes on for a very, very long time. That was really the only one where I was like, can we wrap this up? And then ended up playing for like another 10 hours, I think.
Oh God, yeah, probably for the best then. Maybe at some point we can bring Final Fridays back with another Final Fantasy game. I don't know if you remember either. The one moment from it made it onto our best of Adjective Noun Gaming in like 2019, where I kept alternating like my character between like beds. You could like walk in and make it look like your character was in bed, and it was just you going, yeah, 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 over and over again. So if you guys haven't seen the best of Adjective Noun Gaming from 2019, highly recommend it. That was one of Christa's best editing things that she's ever done, and I go back to that like a few times a year and watch it because it's really fun.
It's such a good video. It's got
it's got a lot of
Ben
our
losing
early
his
stuff.
mind
Yeah,
in
it's
Rocket
got
League.
like it's like
It's-
Ben loses his mind in Rocket League. It's got like our very early Sunset and Stardew stuff on it. Just in
Yep.
general, if you're listening to this and you want like an introduction to our channel, we're not nearly as active as we used to be in the first couple years, and obviously COVID lockdown slowed that down a lot. You know, I did stream like Predator and stuff during them, but there's been a big lull in this channel for a long time. So if you want to go back and see the early days of it, whenever it was like really fun and all the stuff we did, that's definitely a good primer for it. Shameless self-promotion time.
All right, Ben, number 5.
All right, number 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leica Age Through Blood.
Ooh, nice.
Anybody play this?
I played the demo and
not.
realized it wasn't a good Steam Deck game and stopped.
Yeah, the controls are a little wonky on it, but I have to give it props just for like style and like ingenuity. So if you don't know anything about the game, they call it a Motorvania, I think is like the marketing term. But it's a Metroidvania that you are on a motorcycle for most of it, so it has like trials controls, but you can also shoot off of your motorcycle.
Oh shit.
And you reload by doing a backflip, and you like recharge these like a parry by doing a front flip. And so it's just this really cool, sometimes very frustrating mix of mechanics, but that also has like an art style like back in the day there was like these Xbox Live Arcade games called Shank. So it's like this very cartoony Wild West style post-apocalyptic art style, and it just looks cool. And there's like some cool like crafting stuff, and you're just going across this map on your motorcycle doing these cool like front flips and back flips and trying to make these jumps. And I'm always a sucker for Metroidvania plus something else. So like a while ago there was what is it? Yoku's Island Express, which was Metroidvania plus pinball. And like that was cool. And so it just like brings something to the table. And I just really liked the style, the artwork, the music in it is crazy good. It's just this really like some of it's just this really haunting music, and yeah, I highly recommend it.
And shout out to
Sounds
MinMax
cool.
as well. Whenever Ben got to appear on MinMax and talk
Yeah.
about this game with Ben Hansen and Jeff Marchiafava on that one.
Wait,
What was the
for
name of the
real?
thing? Yeah, what was the name of the
Yeah.
thing you were on, Ben?
It was just like I don't know if it was the Next Fest demos, or it might have been Next Fest demos, or it might have been like games that we might have missed from like Summer Games Fest or whatever.
Okay.
And so it was just something that was like, oh, what are some things that flew under the radar, either Next Fest demos or from that? And I think it might have been just from that, because I remember being excited for the Next Fest demo during it. So yeah, it was like a podcast where everybody was talking about their games, and they would watch the trailer and you could talk about it for like, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 minutes is all I talked about it for, but I was really excited for it. I haven't gone back to it in a while. It is like, it takes a while to get used to the controls because it's different than Trials, even though it feels very Trials-ish. I think they swap the triggers, because like your right trigger is fire and your left trigger is like to go, and so getting that through my mind took a little while, but after you figure it out, it's cool. And the checkpointing is really well done. It kind of has like a Souls mechanic to it too, where like if you die, you drop the currency that you have and you can go back and get it and stuff like that. So yeah, I would check it out. It has some really cool designs to it. It has some really interesting look to it, and just, you know, I'm always out there celebrating like kind of new stuff, and Trials is one of my favorite games of all time. So go look at that.
What was that called?
Cool little indie. It's called. It has a terrible name. That's the only thing that I really don't like about it. It's called Leica Aged Through Blood. It's a bad name. It's a bad name, and it's really bummer. Because like Leica's the main character. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, where you die and
play
like
Dark Souls, man.
where you die and you go back and get your stuff.
game.
You know, I don't know if that originated in Souls, but it's more of like a WoW mechanic, like a death run. So.
And how many other games are you going to play where you can parry bullets with your motorcycle too?
With your motorcycle, yeah, you like turn your motorcycle sideways and you like parry a bullet back towards the guy, and it's cool. It gets really tough. Like I don't think I got stuck. I think I just kind of put it down because I think I left for vacation or something, and then when I came back, I just wasn't playing it. But it's cool, cool game.
All right, so now we're in number 4. We're getting to our top 4 here, ladies and gentlemen. My number
Yep.
4, I just barely even want to talk about it anymore. We talked about it on Alex's thing last night. I know it's not on anybody else's list. My number 4 is Starfield.
I want to hear why you like this game. I like came in and being like, I'm not gonna be mean about it. I want to hear why Josh really likes this game.
That was my thought last. I was
Okay.
like, I want Josh to have his. This is literally your channel.
Yeah.
You like this
Yeah.
game.
So I'll preface by saying I don't think I've ever been more exhausted by a discourse around a game than I was with this one, and I think it's the first time I ever actually took a break from Twitter. When the previews came out, it was the start of it, and then when the reviews came out, I muted the word Starfield on Twitter and I got off Twitter for a while. Like, it's the first time a game has ever made me do that. I just like I went into it really open-minded. It had been a long time since a Bethesda game had come out. Like I enjoyed Fallout 4 quite a bit, but it never stacked up to like, Oblivion, Skyrim, or Fallout 3 for me. But I did really enjoy my time with Fallout 4. And shout out to Randy, our friend who played like a million hours of Fallout 4 as well. I know he played way more Starfield than I even did, and I know he liked the game quite a bit. But just in general, I had been really itching for a new Bethesda world to walk around in. Like, that's been one of my favorite gaming things. Like, I look back on Oblivion very fondly. Like, that was the first game I ever played on Xbox 360. And I had never played a Bethesda game before. And walking around in like a huge open world and not knowing what you were going to stumble into next is like one of my favorite things about Bethesda games. And I'm not going to sit here and say Starfield is immune to criticism, because it's not. I have issues with it. It's not even close to a perfect 10 game for me. It's like an 8 at best. I know people didn't like the not being able to like fly directly to a planet and land on it and anything. That was just a non-issue for me. I mean, I see the comparisons to No Man's Sky, and I get it. Like, people should just play No Man's Sky if that's the experience that they want that Starfield didn't give them. To me, it was just like, it's just the Bethesda thing. It's like, I really like the characters. I really like the story. The gunplay is the best that Bethesda's ever made. It still feels clunky because it's a Bethesda game, but it's like the Dark Souls thing too. It's like, if you're a fan of Dark Souls, like, those games are clunky, you know what you're getting into. A lot of the
Whoa, I don't know about that.
Okay, fuck Dark Souls then. So anyway, yeah, no, I don't know. It's like, I think the gunplay is the best that they've ever made in a game. It still feels clunky because it's a Bethesda game, but I thought all the guns felt pretty good. I thought there was a good variety, like, like basic assault weapons. They had cool space weapons. And I don't know, like the biggest issue I had with the game was like the spaceship stuff. Like, I was like able to ignore it for a long time because I found it to be a little bit complicated and tedious. And then I ran into a brick wall where they're like, yeah, motherfucker, you're not going to be able to progress until you get pretty deep into this ship stuff now. And I was really far into the game when that happened. So as far as like big issues, like I know, going back to the Alan Wake 2 thing, like obviously game breaking bugs can influence your opinion of a game by a lot. And thankfully I had like one quest bug in this and I just restarted a checkpoint and that was it. So again, like my opinion probably would have been more negative had I had some actual game breaking bugs. And I've had those in Bethesda games before. Like, I ended the longest Skyrim run that I've ever had because of a game breaking bug. And it was my fault because I didn't have like multiple saves or whatever, but I ended up having to restart that game too. But just in general, I really like the story and the characters. I thought it was really fun to play. Really good side quests. Really liked a lot of the characters. Barrett was a really cool character in this with a really meaningful side story that you get into with like learning how his partner died and getting to go and investigate like the apartment and finding all that stuff out for yourself. I think it nails a lot of the good things that Bethesda games go for. I mean, I get why people were disappointed with it. There was probably a lot of things that they thought were going to be in the game that just weren't, like the space travel stuff and all that. But yeah, just in general, like I've been over the discourse about this game for quite a while now. I kind of just like, I like it a lot more than most people did, I think, and that's fine. Like, you either like it or you don't, and I happen to really like it a lot, and that's why it's in my top 5.
It sucks to really like the thing that is the current butt of the jokes. Like, I fucking love Horizon, and I was so fucking tired of everything last year because it was just exhausting to see just bummer after bummer after bummer when it comes to that stuff. That I got to the same point. I muted the word Horizon for a while because I was like, you know what, I'd rather see nothing than the sometimes positive things about it at this point, at the risk of seeing all the bad. So,
and yeah, Giant Bomb, even they've been shitting on Starfield. They've been shitting on Starfield all year long, and I'm like, man, I get why Alex was frustrated with Horizon now. It sucks to hear people shitting on something that you really like, and this is the first time I think that this has ever really happened to me with a game. Like, I can't think of another example of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it doesn't feel good whenever you are really positive about something and you don't really have anybody else to share that sentiment with. Like, I don't have anybody to talk about this game with because I don't know anybody else that played it and enjoyed it as much as I did. So it's a big part of an experience. Like, we share games that we love on this podcast every year, and it sucks that none of my other friends liked it as much as I did. Like I said, it's not immune to criticisms. I get why people don't like aspects of it, but just over the discourse of it, ready to move on with my life. Very excited to play New Game Plus of that game at some point in the future, just like I've done with all the other Bethesda games.
You should text Billy and Josh, or not Josh, you're Josh, TJ.
Oh, yeah,
They both played it. Right? Billy loved that game. He put tens and tens of hours.
I feel like when did we get together with Lindsay and Phil's? Was that after Starfield was out? I feel like we did talk about it a little bit at that get together, didn't we? Okay. So yeah, I guess I do. Like, not like a close friend though, like not one of you guys, you know, is what I meant. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Ben, you can talk about it if you like it too, but I just like I said, I'm done hearing people talk about it, and I've been over it for a while. I'm kind of all talked out about it, and I'm excited to move on to a year where we hopefully don't have to keep hearing about how people want to shit on it.
I like the way that game looks. I think it's a pretty game.
Yeah. It was nominated for Good Style for a reason last night. We eliminated it pretty quickly, but yeah.
And I think I like the music in it too.
Music is good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so my number 4, I believe. I think this is our moment now, Josh. Spider-Man 2 is my number 4.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right. I think that... So I haven't played it yet, and I actually have tried very, very hard to not get anything spoiled for me for that game. Do you guys mind if I do the same thing again? Jump out, and then you can text me?
Yeah, I'll text you. Yep.
Sure.
That way you can, feel free to, talk however you want about it.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm going to close Discord this time because last time it did some weird stuff for me whenever I came back.
I saw you switching between the general channel and the recording channel. It was really funny.
Dude, I was trying to do whatever I could because, it was, cutting out, and then all of a sudden, my headphones stopped working, and then they started... I don't know, it was weird. But I'm going to just jump out. And
thankfully, at some point, my computer stopped playing the Discord, enter and exit call noises, which is really good for podcast recording, but it's also bad because I can, unless I'm looking at your names, I don't know when any of you leave or come back now. So, good podcast material, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my watch set, so that way whenever you're ready for me to come back, just text me.
Yeah, I'll text you.
Cool, bye.
All right, go for it, Alex.
Yeah, so Spider-Man 2, similarly with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I'm really not a big Marvel guy. I feel like I liked the Infinity Saga well enough. I didn't watch all the movies, but Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero by far. I think growing up with the Tobey Maguire movies, I think helped. And I just like Peter's story the most. Peter Parker as a character, I think I like a lot. And these Insomniac games are very, very good. Ben, have you played either of the first two or this one?
I played the first one. I played the first one on PC. I got Steve's hold on.
Mm-hmm.
He's overwhelmed with emotion about Spider-Man.
I played the first one on PC when it came out on Steam. And the mechanics are really cool. I went around, did a bunch of open world stuff, and hated most of the story and combat. So,
gotcha.
But I love swinging around. I thought that was super fun.
The new one, this new game is I think it's the best feeling swinging they've ever put in a Spider-Man game. It's insanely good how well they've nailed it.
Yeah, it's
nice.
The websuit edition, along with the I can't remember if you could loop-de-loop, or I know you couldn't turn corners on while web swing and stuff like that. But yeah, moving around the world feels better. And I actually think the combat is more fun in this one because instead of a radial wheel of gadget, you just have I punch with square, triangle pulls me to them, and then you have L2. Holding L2 is your powers, holding R2 and the face buttons are your gadgets. It's just much more simplified and streamlined, and they also didn't flood the game with do a million fucking crimes over and over and over again to check off all your boxes on the map and stuff. It looks great. I think I like the story of this one more because it gets into Peter's relationship with Harry and the whole plot line of Harry being how they do Venom. I thought was really cool because it's my understanding. I think that's unique to them. I don't think there's been.
It's usually. I think Ben's more of a comic book guy than I am. Isn't Eddie Brock usually Venom, Ben?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, Harry Osborn is usually. I mean, because what? Norman is Harry's dad.
Green Goblin,
He's a Green Goblin, and then at least like I haven't read a lot of Spider-Man, but I did watch a lot of the show, like the animated show back then.
Mhm.
And then Harry is usually like Hobgoblin.
Oh,
Right.
that's
Is
right.
usually
Yeah.
so that's usually how that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever given like Harry the Venom suit at all, because yeah, Eddie Brock is usually the
Right.
Venom.
It's a very cool twist to make him the one with Venom, though. And then they did do a good Green Goblin teaser at the end for the next game, and I'm very excited to see how they develop that. It's. I don't want to interrupt you and take away any of your thunder, but I think it's the best Spider-Man game ever made. I really do. It's not a high bar to clear because there haven't been a ton of great ones besides like the first one in Miles Morales, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved it. I did Let's Plays for it. I took the week off of work to play this game, and it's probably one of the best open world games I've ever played because it's not a million hours of just bullshit like a lot of open world games try to do. It's like you've got your side activities, they're very manageable to do them all. It's a very easy platinum trophy to like get everything done in this game. But like all the side activities end up you can't do them until certain moments of the main story, and they just are very good supplements to the main story of just like building out the world of like how people view Peter and Miles as Spider-Man. And it's a beautiful game. It's just very technically impressive, and I like the story a lot. But I think that's the biggest part I liked the most was they took out all the fluff that the first game had, and this where it made it less of a game, but I want quality over quantity all the time.
Yes.
And it's like I could just play the game again if I want to play more Spider-Man. Like I'd rather do that than have to kind of do some of the grindiness of it. But
that's why I think Miles Morales is a better game than the first one, is because they took everything that was good about the first one and condensed it. It's a more compact version of everything that was good about the first game.
Yeah. So yeah, I that's mostly my piece. It's fun to run around. It's fun. The combat is more fun. I like the story better, and like functionally and how an open world game works. I think they improved a lot on
I'm
that. It feels
very
like
excited
a lot of
to
games
see
take
more of
things
it
from this one. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what else they do with it. I mean, yeah, there's not much more I can say. It's kind of like it's weird, like how I had the platinum experience with this game too that you did with Alan Wake, where I did not expect to get the platinum trophy. And when I finished everything, I was close enough. I was like, okay, 5 more hours, I guess. I'll finish it out. And sure enough, it was the only platinum trophy I got last year besides, or no, that and Venba. I got the Venba, but that was literally like 2.5 hours. But yeah, I mean, I echo everything Alex said. It's like I said, I think it's the best Spider-Man game ever made, which again, not a huge, hurdle to clear besides the recent ones. I mean, I like the one back on, I don't know if you ever played like the early ones, like the PS1 or PS2 one. I know people have a high regard for that PS2 or like, I guess like PS2 and Xbox Spider-Man 2 that they put out. I think a lot of people were like, this is the best swinging since like original Xbox Spider-Man 2. But yeah, just like I said, I'm not really big into Marvel stuff anymore, but Spider-Man has always been my favorite Marvel thing, and Batman's always been my favorite DC thing. And this feels the closest we've gotten to like a good like Batman game, like the old Rocksteady good like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City Batman games, because it's the same kind of combat.
Yeah, fun.
This is the most fun I've had with one of these type of superhero games since then. Like Arkham Asylum is like my favorite superhero game probably ever made. And this is like the closest I think I've had to that experience in a long time. So yeah, very good game, Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
I'll text Aaron and let him know. Is there anything else you want to say before we pull Aaron back in here? Oh, we have to also talk about Venom Wings too, by the way. We can't Venom not talk about Venom Wings.
So fucking cool and so good. And like just graphics are insane now. It's just a beautiful, and then yeah, I'll let you do Venom Wings at a specific moment.
It runs insanely well on PS5. Like I feel like you're almost losing something if you're not playing it on a next gen console. Like the fast travel especially is almost like a magic trick. Like you click the fast travel button on a map and like no time passes at all, and you just appear at that point on the map by swinging right into it. It's the shit that they did with this technically is like on par with like the Alan Wake 2 like technical stuff that they were able to achieve. Like it just it works and flows so well. It looks and plays so amazing. It's top tier. But anyway, at one point Venom sprouts wings, which Ben, we talked about it last night. It was not a thing in comics until 2008. That was the first time Venom ever had wings in comics, but it's during a very like insanely cool and complicated boss battle with Venom. Motherfucker just sprouts wings, and it's one of the coolest moments of last year. It was an actual oh shit moment from last year.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, cool. I enjoyed some of the stuff and the characterization of the first one, but it just kind of burnt me out because I was like, oh, I love swinging around this world. I'm gonna go do all that stuff first, and then after that, I was like, I'm not really interested in the rest of this.
If that is
Yeah.
what you liked about the first game, if you can ever get Miles Morales on sale, I don't even know if it's a PC game at this point. That's a shorter, more compact version of the first game, and I feel like
Dude, Miles Morales was so good.
we were talking about that while you're gone, Aaron. But yeah, Miles Morales is like a compacted version of the first game, which made it even better. But I think Alex and I both agree this is like the best Spider-Man game, like this new one. It's so fucking good. I'm excited for you to play it.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it.
All right,
Beginning of 2024.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I think Aaron's up
Good
next.
gap.
And for my big comeback, I'm going to say a game that we're going to talk about later. Resident Evil 4 Remake is my number 4.
Yep, we'll talk about that later.
Ben, on to you.
My number 4 is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which maybe we'll talk about later.
What is wrong with you guys? Yeah, we're going to talk about that one later.
Okay.
My number 3 we'll cover shortly, just because this game's kind of like a hot topic issue from the last year or so, and Alex and I talked about this game plenty on his stream last night. My number 3 is Hogwarts Legacy. Again, Aaron and Ben, you don't need to participate in this part of the thing if you don't want to. But
we could talk about that briefly
later.
next round.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you have it higher than I do. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, if you have any issue with us talking about this on this podcast, feel free to skip ahead when we do start talking about it. If it's not your thing, you don't want any part of it, that's totally understandable. But we have to talk about it at least a little bit.
My number 3 is Sea of Stars.
Yes.
Am I the highest on Sea of Stars, I think?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I've only played like 2 hours of it. Are you going to go into spoilers with it?
I don't have to. I don't, because I honestly, Josh hasn't either.
Yeah, we avoided it pretty
last
successfully last night, and I mean, I'm like
Yeah.
15 hours into it, and there's still cool shit that I haven't even come close to seeing yet. So we skirted spoilers last night, so I feel like he can do the same. Like right now, it's pretty effective.
I will be vague because I would be crushed if I would have known the stuff that makes me love this game a lot, but I can still talk about why I like it without ruining it for you. So by all means, I think
it was my number 11 just because I haven't finished it. Like I started it too late. You know, I feel like it could have cracked my top 10 if I had actually probably played it all the way through.
Yeah. So this year with me streaming like a bunch of horror games, like that makes me want to, like, I've opened up a whole new genre to me now of like, I actually like survival horror games. Sea of Stars, I think, is the game that's going to do that for me for like the old RPGs. Like I've always loved them in theory, but I haven't actually played any of those. Like I've never played Chrono Trigger. I've never played, a lot of the older Final Fantasies. Like you having the Pixel remaster, Aaron, like I want to get that and play the old ones.
So good.
Final Fantasy 16 and this game. But it is just a fucking gorgeous, like, it's what you would like when we look back on like Super Nintendo games, like we imagine it looking perfect, and it's still like a little choppy, but this game just looks so great. They nailed that style of graphics. The combat is that timing based combat that I was talking about with like Super Mario RPG, where every enemy has a specific timing to defend against, and it makes you take less damage, or your attacks have a time to get extra damage out of it. This game just looks beautiful. There's actually like some fun puzzles and platforming as well in all the different environments that are extremely varied. You've got your mountaintop villages, you have like a creepy forest, you have like a clockwork tower with like gears and shit everywhere. There's some other locations I won't spoil as well that happen later in the game, but it all looks so different from each other, but all of it looks so great. And like probably my favorite part of this game is the music is in my like pantheon of like video game music at this point. Like I don't usually listen to music outside of games. Like in my entire life, outside of a game, I have listened to the Hades soundtrack, the Outer Wilds soundtrack, Animal Crossing music, and Sea of Stars. Like those are the only 4 I've ever done that with, because it's not usually my bag. But like my script for my game of the year videos was like 18,000 words. I wrote every word of that listening to Sea of Stars music the whole time, because it's just it's so fucking good, and like it fits each. It's got my favorite combat music in any game. Like if you're in a spooky woods, it's got like this nice little sound to it, and there's also day and night versions of I think every single song in the game, because
that's cool.
The day-night cycle is very important to the game. story wise, like again, without spoilers, it's nothing too insane. Like it's the we got to beat the bad guy, like that type of stuff. But it's about the characters, which I think is always what makes a good RPG. Is like you need to give a shit about your party members, and that's what makes it really cool. Again, without spoiling anything, I think Garl is probably like a top 5 character for me of like in all of gaming. Garl is super super cool, and like his implications to the story later on make it worthwhile. And um they've got you've got your ending, you see credits, but then there's your true ending, which if I had a gripe, if you care about the true ending, all I can say is collect all of those shells. What are they called again, Josh? You're playing it right now.
Rainbow Conch.
Collect all the rainbow conches, because you need to have found every single one of them to trigger the ultimate like true ending. That is really good. But even if you don't, like, look it up when you're done, because it really changes. It changes a lot. Like, it's almost too much of a change.
It's pretty easy to miss some of those too. They do a good job. Like, it's not on the level of Mario Wonder, where like some of that stuff is insanely hidden, some of the extras, but Sea of Stars does a pretty good job of like making it visible but unreachable. But I have noticed some of them are like tucked away in hidden rooms and stuff. So I don't think I'm going to get all of them, just because it's not a game I love enough to continue forward and playing that hardcore. And I feel like I'm just going to end up looking up the ending like I did with Alan Wake 2. But yeah.
I ended up playing it for, I think, 60 hours, because I basically beat the game and then realized the whole conch shell thing, but there's no way to know which ones you've got before. So I just had to do I'm going to have a guide, and I'm going to go to each one and see if I have it. But that's just it. Like, running around the world, the music, all that stuff was fun enough, and I enjoyed enough that I was willing to put those extra 20 hours in, probably, of all that backtracking to get to it all. So like and they even got the composer from Chrono Trigger did some of the songs in this game too. I can't remember what his name is. But they were like very much inspired by that game and the RPGs of old, and even got people involved in those games to work on it. And it's my favorite of those like turn-based classic RPGs. Like, I would have thought, I love Final Fantasy. The Final Fantasy games I have played, like 10 was probably my favorite. I might like Sea of Stars more than I liked Final Fantasy X, and I would have thought that was my favorite before this. So it fucking rules. I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass and PS Plus, and it's I think maybe $30 otherwise. But it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous game that's got a ton of style, and it's awesome. It's very, very cool.
I can't wait to play more of it. I think it's going to be like right up my alley, and I think for me, I got like I don't want to say burnout of RPGs, but by the time I got to Super Mario RPG, I was like, I need a break for a little bit. I had just played so many by that point this year, but yeah, I can't wait to dive into it. It seems like a blast. The fighting's really fun. And yeah, it seems like it does some cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you look back on the awards that Alex and I gave out last night, Sea of Stars was in like 4 or 5 categories, and won several of those.
It's around,
and it won Best Music very handily. We agreed that that was the only category we agreed we knew what the lock was before we even started getting into deliberations. I'm only 15 hours in, which I think, according to the walkthrough I looked up, I'm only halfway into that, so I don't even know the crazy Garl twist, and I already agreed Garl was my favorite character from last year also.
He's so good.
Everything about that game rules. Like, I'm not the biggest RPG fan ever, but I do play a fair amount of them. I usually don't play the old style ones. I play the newer ones. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake is like now one of my all-time favorites, and I can't wait to play Rebirth next month. So for this game to hit hard for me is a big deal. It didn't make my top 10, I think, just because I didn't finish it yet, and I feel like it easily could have been at least bottom 10, if I had finished it. But yeah, everything Alex said. I mean, the timing-based combat can be challenging at times, learning exactly when to parry things. But when you do, you can also turn on like those helpers, which as somebody who appreciates like assistance in games, whenever I feel like I'm doing bad at them, that game is really good about that. Like, it shows you a visual cue when you strike at the exact right time, or like parry at the exact right time. Like those amulets that you wear, I don't know exactly what they call them. Like, it makes the game a lot more enjoyable for me, So a lot of those old school RPGs do not hold your hand whatsoever, and this game does that in a sense. But it's the first one of these I've played that actually is making me enjoy it more, because they're holding my hand a little bit. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, I need that sometimes, and it's cool that this game offers that. So definitely it's going to go down as one of my like top 10 all-time favorite RPGs for sure, and I'm excited to see it through to the end.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, do you have anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think that's it.
No, I'm good.
I'm going to jump in with my number 3, and this is maybe another reason why I didn't play Sea of Stars. My number 3 is Octopath Traveler 2. Love this game. So I picked this up right after finishing the Pixel remasters because I was still, like, even playing through all 6 first Final Fantasy games, like, I still wanted more. So this game had just come out. I had heard a lot of really good stuff about it from reviews whenever it dropped. And then I picked it up and just absolutely fell in love with this game. Definitely an improvement on almost every single aspect of Octopath Traveler 1. But I think the thing for me was just the combat felt so good. It got to the point I probably played this game for about 40 hours, and a solid 10 hours of this game was just me running around the world doing fights. I would walk into towns, it would be like,
nice.
do you want to do story stuff? And I was like, absolutely not. And then I would just keep walking and like just moving forward in the game, and just I love the battle mechanics in this game so much that I just didn't want to stop playing it. So I still am at a point where I'm 40 hours in the game. There's one character that I just haven't even unlocked, not because I haven't wanted to, just because I haven't needed to, because there's just so much content there to play. The story on most of the characters, this more for the second one than the first one, the story is just so much more interesting for all the characters. There's some really cool connections between the characters. I haven't gotten all the way to the end game yet, but even to the point where I am, having completed multiple character stories, just really good connections between the characters, really good interactions between the characters. Yeah, I had a really good time with it.
Nice. I really want to dive into that. I barely got a chance to start it, and then with the Christmas craziness and then the busy earlier the year, I haven't came back. But I remember the first game looked really cool because I was like, that art style is so unique. Of like this mix, that 2.5D type stuff, like it's a picture book almost. And then when the sequel came out and people were like, oh yeah, like it fixes a lot of the problems with the first game. Like I think the stories are better, the characters are cooler. I was like, all right, I definitely want to play that at some point. Especially, and also after Sea of Stars, I was like, all right, give me these RPGs, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, like I said, this is a good one probably to follow up. It's definitely different, right? Like I would definitely say like it's very different. Sea of Stars really reminds me of like Golden Sun. There's also a lot of like things you get to do in the overworld, which I mean, Octopath has it in a different sense. There's definitely overworld like activities and like mechanics, but yeah, just good games, good year.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Golden Sun finally coming to Nintendo Switch Online. I'll finally get to try that for the first time.
See that.
Listen, man, I can't wait to play it, but I got Baldur's Gate 3 to play first. So I'll get to Golden Sun in about 2025.
There you go.
Yeah.
Aaron, I'm excited to play Octopath Traveler 2. I picked it up in a recent sale for Steam.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I played the first one on Switch. I didn't get anywhere near through it, but I enjoyed what I played of it.
Well, hey, I also didn't get anywhere near through it, and I put 60 hours into the first one. So,
how many did you say again you put into this one already?
Just 40. I think 45 was where I got to.
Okay.
And like I said, there's one character I haven't even unlocked yet.
Right.
So there's just so much content in these games, and I mean, I didn't think the first one was bad, but I definitely like agreed with a lot of the criticisms of it. The second one just does such a good job of tightening everything across the board. So I'm pumped to play it.
Yeah, that's exciting. Because I think I got like skill locked on a few, like I think on one of the bosses early on in the game. I was just like, this is hard.
Yeah,
like it's comparatively
were rough.
Like, yeah, compared to like just fights out in the overworld or whatever, you know. I felt unprepared for the boss.
I would definitely say like the bosses in 2 are still tough, but not like they were in that one. Like I think you're right.
They felt like unfair, or like at least I wasn't prepared for it. Like I need to go grind a bunch, and I was like, I don't have that time anymore in my life to grind for stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would even say like the other thing that's really cool about 2 is that like. Again, I played a lot of the battling for a long time. Like, I really fell into that. But, like, I never felt like I needed to grind into. I just felt like I was having fun doing the fighting. But I think even if I was to take a lot of that out, I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to grind a bunch.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed some of the battling stuff, just like the typing stuff. I remember like the different types of enemies versus attacks. Like I thought that was fun. But I think when I got to the bosses, it was like, oh, you have to do that, and you basically have to set your characters up perfectly, or else you're gonna like get wiped in one round.
Oh yeah, the first one was very much of a like, you got to refine all of your equipment. You got to be able to like prep for the bosses, even though until you fight the boss, you don't know what they're gonna have. Like,
So
this one did a much better job. Of
I
just,
remember
like,
being
you could
very
just
frustrated.
jump in and there's a couple super bosses in the game that like I've encountered that I've had to do that with. But definitely not like main story bosses. They did a much better job with that.
That's good. That's good to hear, because I was I was like, man, this is tough. Like I think it was like maybe one of the first bosses, even like in the castle or whatever. And I was like, this sucks, man.
Yeah, there was definitely like
over and over.
There was definitely the first one had a lot of moments where I like to Google and I was like, so what do I need to be this person? And I definitely have not felt like that with the second one.
Cool. All right, we're on number 3, right?
Yep.
My number 3 is Chia.
Oh, nice. Alex and I literally gave this second place on our category last night of games we wish we played more of, if at all.
Yep. Yeah, did either of you play it?
I played like 45 minutes of it and then just started playing other stuff. I did not dislike it by any means. I re-downloaded it and I'm intending on playing it here within the next few months for sure. It very much seems like a really chill, very charming, cute game, and I'm very excited to play more of it. The time got away from me last year in that last half of the year, so
it's one of the like 2 games, 3, 4 maybe that I rolled credits on last year. It's excellent. It's so good. It's like the story, and like I'm not a story guy, right? Like I'm a much more mechanics guy, and the mechanics next level mechanics so cool to like transform into stuff. I think I got really close to 100%ing it. There's some really cool like side puzzle stuff. It's fascinating. I think a lot of people gave it praise for being like without a map, but some of the map stuff they do in it almost robs it of that. I wish it would have been even less like map heavy, or like did some shortcuts to get you to places, because it's just so fun to navigate that world. There's this thing where you like can fling yourself, so you turn yourself into a rock. You can like shoot what you're in out of your body, right? Because like the main mechanic, I don't know if you have seen it. I know Josh, you played it. Yeah. Alex, have you played any of it?
I also put about like an hour into it in December, trying to play more stuff for my list. But yeah, I've seen the whole like transformation stuff. It looks really cool.
So like some high level mechanic pieces of that is that you can like you possess something and then you can fling it at other things. But to travel across the world, you just get into a rock, you shoot it into the sky, and then you repossess it, because like if you time it just right, you can get back into the rock and you keep the momentum, and you just like keep kind of flinging yourself over and over again and go across the world so fast. And then like of course like eventually you get the ability to summon things that you can possess, so like you can possess birds or like the animals that can run really fast. And it's just cool. The story is great. It's so cute. There is some like weird like story stuff where it doesn't balance out with the cuteness. It feels like a dark cartoon in a way.
Yeah.
But with like I don't know, like back when like cartoons weren't all made by Disney, you know, and like weren't all for like little kids. This feels like a teenager's cartoon in a way, but then it also feels in a way like for little kids. Like the balance there is a little bit off, but some of the moments are just so sweet. And you get to learn about like the New Caledonia stuff, which was really cool. You learn about like some of the like recipes and stuff. It was cool to see just like about a different place through a game. And the sailing is fun. The possession mechanics are fun. Some of the combat not as fun, but like still kind of neat, honestly. Like I know a lot of people had problems with it, but I think I enjoyed it a lot. I'm saying that because it's been a while since I played it. I played it when it came out, rolled credits on it pretty much within that week because I was so enraptured with it, and I haven't gone back to it. And I think I came close to 100%ing it, but didn't. But it's just so cool. I'm so excited for like a sequel to Chia, just because that team seems to really know what they're doing. There was no like scope, you know, it wasn't scoped out to an insane amount. It's a fairly small area, but the area feels big just because of the traversal is limiting but unlimited at the same time. Like you can't just fast travel everywhere. So it feels very like, oh well, then I need to like hop on my sailboat and do this or do that. And I just had a blast playing it. It's just a cool game.
That's
So
awesome.
highly yeah. So
All right.
that's Chia.
Well, folks, we are down to our top 2. We are going right along here.
Getting there.
My number 2 and my number 1 are basically in sync. I know Aaron and Alex both know what these are already. I don't know. Ben probably does, but I don't know if I've explicitly stated it to him. My number 2 is Dead Space. I mean, straight up, Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space are my 2 favorite horror games of all time. We were so fortunate to get a remaster of Dead Space last year and a remake of Resident Evil 4 last year. The way I've like been framing it in my mind is, if Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space are my 2 favorite horror games of all time, and now we've had better remakes of them, does that make these 2 new ones like my 2 new favorite horror games of all time? And I think the answer is yes, especially with Resident Evil 4, which we'll talk about. I mean, with Dead Space, it's just like, it was so cool to see Alex have that be the start of him embracing his horror game streams this year. And I know that's why it makes that game a little bit more special to you than Resident Evil 4, just because you played it first and you loved it. It's been very good to see. Over the years, Aaron and I have bonded over Dead Space and Resident Evil as well. I know Aaron will play the Dead Space remake at some point too, or remaster, I guess. It's simple. I mean, guys, like if you haven't played Dead Space before, if you have any interest in playing like a horror game, like it's just one of the top tier. You're not going to get much better. They took everything about it graphics wise and made it look so fucking good. It fixed like a lot of the issues with visibility that I had with the original Dead Space, where even with like the flashlight or whatever, like it's hard to see where you're going sometimes, and it can make some of the fights kind of frustrating if you don't know where the attacks are coming from. And I mean, I didn't even really have to crank the brightness up all that much in this, and could still enjoy like the dark, like broody horror shit in this. They're definitely not afraid to jump scare you in this game, which made for some really entertaining moments watching Alex play through all of Dead Space on his stream. But yeah, just in general, like I would have more to say, I think, about the Resident Evil 4 remake, because I did like it more, and in general, I like Resident Evil 4 more than Dead Space, but not by much. Like Dead Space is a fantastic game. I've loved it since the 360 days. I mean, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. They took one of my favorite games and made it even better, and I can't imagine not having it this high up on my list.
Yeah,
Wait
ahead.
whenever they make Dead Space 2 remake, because this one was great. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked one thing that whenever this came out, I was really curious what was the difference between the remake and the original. Because like playing through it, it was like, man, this feels so true to what I originally played. But it is so cool to see like the little tweaks that they made to this game to make it to the point where like it just feels like the same game, but they've just added so much like navigation stuff and kind of wrap around with the maps. It was super just fun to play.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot that you actually did play it.
Yeah. It was my number 9.
I forgot.
I mean, it was quick. I don't think I talked about it too much in the group chat, but I really had a good time with it. It was a good game.
Alex, I know you're a remap fan. I don't know if you watched them play, and I was saying for Josh and Aaron both, they did like a side by side of I think 2 of the people on there. I think Patrick and one of the other guys played the original. One of them played the original, and then the other played the remake at the same time, like side by side on the stream.
That's cool.
And so it was really interesting to see, like, oh, here's how they're different. And like,
yeah,
I remember, I think Aaron in the group chat, you were like, yeah, it's basically the same, and then you're like, oh no, it's definitely not.
No, yeah, I watched some YouTube videos and I was like, whoa, like I had no idea.
Yeah,
they changed this much stuff because it just doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't
which
feel
is
like
cool,
that.
right? That's the best. Yeah, that's the best thing that you would want out of a remake, right? Like, it feels like how the other one was, but it's way better. Like, it's way more
quality of life improvement.
Yeah,
because the big thing was I never played the original. I think I played it for like an hour on your Extra Life stream that one year, Josh. Like,
oh my god, how could we forget that? And then Resident Evil 4 for the original Xbox shutting down my Xbox because of a weird glitch multiple times, and me freaking out thinking my Xbox was dying. Like that was like the horror block that we had played together. I loved watching you play that in person with me, and I know you'll talk about it here in a second, but it's made me appreciate you loving this game so much. Like, it makes my heart so happy to have seen you get into horror games so much last year.
Yeah, like it's of the 3 horror games I played this year, Dead Space I ranked 10th, Alan Wake was 9, and Resident Evil 4 was 6. So like it's technically the lowest on my list, but in a way, I owe Dead Space being good because it was the first one I played. Is the reason I even played those other ones. Like if I would have had a really bad time playing this, I probably wouldn't have played those other ones. But it's so scary in like smart ways where like yes, there's jump scares and stuff, but it's also just got like the vibes of it. Like the ship noises itself sound like somebody's just screaming, but like it's the ship. They just like
Mhm.
tweak stuff in ways that make it all fit this vibe. And like the like I talked about this in my game of the year video for it, but it's like you play a game where you can shoot limbs off of a guy. Like that's always cool. And like they do the thing in this game where they make the cool option also the option that like gameplay wise makes the most sense. Like you need to shoot dudes' legs off, go over and do that awesome stomp and just like make their head explode. Like that's the best way to play the game, and it's also the coolest way to play the game. I feel like when games you don't have to go out of your way or like, play suboptimally if you're like trying to min-max everything and like because every bullet is so important in that game. That's the other thing is like there were some times where I think it was because I was just getting my bearings where it felt like it was too stingy on ammo, but like if anything, it's perfect game design because like I always had enough to get through, but I had to like think about every single time I pulled the trigger was important. So being able to stomp dudes' heads in when it both felt amazing and also was important was just so good. And yeah, this game, I hope they make the remake of 2 and even like a brand because again, having not played them, first one's a classic. People like the second, third is kind of bad. Is that my understanding of it? Like, hopefully
So
they
that's
do
the
a
thing
new
is I
one.
feel like
Yeah,
it might be
kinda.
the third one's not bad. Like I just think the first it suffers from that trilogy problem. Like the
Right.
first two are
Well,
so good.
the thing with the third one though is that they tried to make it like a multiplayer game. So like the
Yeah.
first two are just so like claustrophobic and so like you're on your own, and then the third one was like, hey, now you got a buddy, you got
Yeah.
a buddy this whole time.
Yeah. No, I mean I get it. Like I said, I might be in the minority here. I actually like the third one quite a bit. The second one I feel like in some ways is kind of underrated too. Like it has moments that rival the first one, like the nursery part of the second one. Alex, I'm very
That's so
excited if
good.
they ever make a
Mm.
remake of this so you can play the second one. You're going to be shitting your fucking pants the entire time
God,
you're
I can't
playing
wait.
this part. I cannot wait. I'm very excited for the prospect of them remaking the second one, especially the third one. I'd be pretty indifferent to just because like that one was like close to the end of the lifespan of the 360. I feel like, unless I'm misremembering. I don't know how much more they could realistically do that unless they did like completely go the Resident Evil 4 route and actually remake it, like
I mean,
full
I'm going to be
remake.
honest with you. Like, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they
Yeah.
actually do remake 3 and then just, like, actually make it a straight up horror game.
It would be cool for them to remake it. More people might acknowledge it then, it's
Yeah.
more of an action game than a horror game, I think is the big thing,
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we see like I said, it's the trilogy problem. Like how often do you see a movie trilogy where the third one is the best in the series? Like I feel like it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But yeah, I'm like I said, Aaron, I'm really happy you played it as somebody who I grew up with talking about the game and loving it with. And Alex, like I said, it just makes me so fucking happy to have seen you get into horror games last year. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to see where you go from it going forward.
It was really fun. I love that game a lot.
And now, Alex, tell us what was your number 2 game of the year?
My number 2 game of 2023 was Hogwarts Legacy,
Fuck yeah.
which, I know you mentioned it before. Fuck J.K. Rowling for turning like my childhood into a like genuine source of inner turmoil now,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
always super fun.
Yeah.
But as far as the game goes, this game is kind of like I know last year I talked a lot about Pokemon Legends Arceus of like something I've loved since I was a kid and wanted since I was a kid.
Yep.
And that hit home just right. And I also got to play it, side by side with my wife, and it was just an awesome experience. Hogwarts Legacy was our game this year for that. We both one of the things we bonded on when we met was Harry Potter, and like this game is, I think we figured out last night in talking about it. We needed Harry Potter fans to grow up wanting to make games to get a good Harry Potter game. Like if you just have a bunch of like bigwig execs that are just like, oh, Harry Potter, that's a cash cow right there. The games aren't as great. But like this game, you can tell is by fans for the fans. Like it's walking around Hogwarts 1 hour, or what was my oh shit moment of just like they just nailed the look and feel and vibes of being a student at Hogwarts, which is something like I've always wanted in a game. The music is like perfect. Like I don't think there's any song from the movies in this game, but like they made a whole score, hours and hours of music that you could slide it into the movies and it would blend right in. Like they just
Yup.
nailed everything about it.
That's interesting.
It's like
Yeah.
the craziest thing about this game that I said last night too is that, like I said, it's something that I've wanted since I was a little kid. Like your experience with Arceus, like this is even more than Pokemon for me. I have dreamed since I was a kid about having a full Hogwarts castle to run around in, like a living, breathing, truly well-made Hogwarts castle. And
It's
it's
perfect.
above and beyond what they needed to do. It's filled with so many details, so many Easter eggs. And the fucking craziest part of it all is that it's the best Harry Potter game we've ever gotten that doesn't even have Harry Potter in it. And
Yeah.
not even really any references to like future stuff all that much, you know? It's like its own thing. It's got like it's like the history of all of it, you know? It's like the beginnings of it, and it's just so like I said, we won't talk about it a whole lot more cuz I know it's a hot topic issue, but it was just so fucking good. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like I could not play this game. Like I have a fucking Deathly Hallows tattoo on my arm. Harry Potter's a huge part of my childhood. I still love the movies and rewatch them multiple times every year. Like I said, the whole thing fucking sucks with everything that's going on with it. There's no way you
Yeah.
can talk about it and not acknowledge that. But it's a huge part of who I am. It's something that I genuinely get emotional about and love so much. And I'm so happy that we finally got a good game. And I
Yeah.
think the only way we'll ever get one that's better than this or as good is if it's the same studio making a sequel to it. I would
Which
love
they
to see
have to
them.
be. There's no
I
fucking
would
way.
love to see them work up to more modern stuff like we're used to. But then at that point, I feel like it might almost be to its detriment because then you're just going to be retreading like the stories of the books and the movies. I mean, look at what they're doing with this HBO show. They're going to expand the first book into like a whole season of a show. And they're recasting it and everything. Yeah, like I said, it's just we won't talk about it any more than we have to. But I couldn't not mention it. Like this is my channel, Alex and I love this. We had to at least talk about it a little bit. So
Yeah, it's the Harry Potter game that growing up with Harry Potter I've always wanted to play. And like I saw a thing, I don't know if it held out on this, but I think it was on Game Mess maybe they were talking about it. So since 2008, every year the best-selling game is either a Call of Duty game or a Rockstar game. So probably like Red Dead's and GTA 5 got in there. I think Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game in 2023. So like for the first time in 15 years, somebody took down Call of Duty,
which is
and it's
rules.
it's
Yeah.
it's the exact type of game that would do it. Came out in February. It's a massive IP. It's actually well made and a good game, and it's on every platform. Like they did it. I mean, 22 million copies. I'm pretty sure is the last number I saw, which is bananas. That's Nintendo numbers.
Yeah, and speaking of Nintendo, it's cool that they put it on Nintendo Switch. Like, I'm sure the performance there is like suboptimal compared to what we get on our consoles and PCs. But I've heard it's like running pretty good. Like, it was rough launch at first, like a lot of Switch stuff is. But like the fact that they got Hogwarts Legacy running on a Switch better than that last Pokemon game is pretty fucking crazy. You know?
Yeah,
it's so good.
Rules, and
It's so good.
Like I said, it came with a lot of like back and forth of juggling morality with this game, which always fucking sucks so bad.
Yeah.
But having played it, it was incredible.
I'm very glad I played it. I'm very excited for the future of it. I want this franchise to distance itself from her as much as possible now, and hopefully we continue to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Alex's number 2. Aaron, what was your number 2 of the year?
All right, so my number 2 is probably going to be some people's number 1, so we'll talk about it in a minute. But my number 2 was Lies of P. Lies of P. You guys need to check your lists again just to confirm.
It was actually so good that it was my number 0.5.
Dude,
it looks cool. It really does. I thought about it. I was like, maybe this is the one.
And honestly, Alex, it might be. It might be worth you checking out. Because here's the deal. Like, this game, I was like, oh, that's funny. That's Pinocchio. They're making a dark Pinocchio game. That's funny. Whatever. Okay, I'm moving on with my life. And then they released a demo. Whenever they put a demo out, there was tons of talk like it's like Bloodborne, and Bloodborne is probably at this point my favorite video game of all time. So I played this demo. it was fine. I didn't like the dodging. I didn't think that I thought the dodging mechanic like could have been better, but like it was okay. And the game finally came out, and all I just kept hearing over and over again is that it was it's probably the best Souls-like game that has ever been made, and that it just is so much reminiscent of Bloodborne, to the point where there were like some reviewers who were like kind of complaining that a lot of the menus were just copy and pasted from Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Which for me is like a plus, not a minus.
Right.
So
you know what to expect.
Getting it for Christmas. And one of the first things that I noticed whenever I started playing it is that they actually did tighten up the dodge mechanic from what it was in the demo. And I Googled it just to like make sure I wasn't crazy. But they actually did go in and do that. And I just could not get enough of this game. I could not put it down. It is probably the only... I played a lot of Souls-likes. And none of them, like, they just don't feel like they were made from FromSoft. And this is the first one where I was like, this feels like FromSoft made this game. Like, everything, not everything, but the majority of this game just felt so tight, so refined. And you could tell that the people who made this game absolutely loved it and loved making it. And it just was really, it meant a lot to me. And I will say that the two hardest that I feel like I've ever played in a video game were in this game. And when I beat both of those fights, it was just an insane moment of satisfaction. I mean, that's one of the things that makes these games so good, is that whenever you finally beat a boss that you have been hitting your head against the wall trying to figure out how to beat them, it just is such a feeling of like accomplishment whenever you finally do it. And I will say for like both of these bosses, I got into the fights. I like got to the point where their health bar was at 0, and then both of the bosses like had a second phase, which I wasn't expecting. And then within the beginning of the second phase, just instantly I was annihilated, and just like staring at the screen of just like, how in the world am I ever gonna beat this? And yeah, just I don't know. So much about this game was really good, and they even took things about Bloodborne and feel like they really even refined some of that. Like the weapon system in this game was really cool. They did this really neat thing where you could like disassemble weapons and mix and match them to kind of suit your play style.
Upgrade your P organ.
Upgrade your P organ.
I did hear about that. It's incredible.
I don't know, just such a great game. And again, like going into it, I was like, well, this is kind of silly. But, you know, I'll play something that's kind of like Bloodborne. And I was expecting it to maybe get, like, you know, 9 or 10 on my list this year. And I just couldn't believe, like, I got done with this game and I had a moment where I was like, make it number 1. Like, it just, like, coming off of the, like, last fight of this game and, like, the adrenaline of, I can't believe, I fought this boss maybe 15 times. I finally beat it. And I was just like, is this it? Is this the best game I played all year? It was really special to me.
It's really funny to see the development of like before it came out, people like shitting on it, making fun of it for being a Pinocchio game. And then seeing all the games people that I follow actually starting to take it really seriously and love it and like regarding it now as like a genuine Souls-like.
Here's the deal. It's Bloodborne. Alex, you should go play Bloodborne.
I do have it. I know they gave it away on PlayStation Plus at one point, so it's sitting there to potentially try.
And you should play it at some point. But if you decide that you want to do Lies of P instead, I would legitimately say it is worth checking out. Like it is, and I've actually like heard some games press, like some people talk about like this is actually the game that got me into them. This is the game where it finally clicked for me. And I will say, like menus wise and like teaching you stuff wise, it does a lot better job than FromSoft games do. FromSoft games just kind of drop you in and you figure it out yourself. This one did a little bit more hand holding at the beginning, which in a way, you know, is nice. It teaches you how to play, teaches you how to move, teaches you the combat. But yeah, just a blast. Really fun game.
Nice. Really happy that you ended up with another Souls-like game. It feels like every year now you're going to get one at least after.
Dude, that's
great.
the hope.
Yeah, it's great. You had that 1 year. What was the year that you first got into them when you played like a million of them like you did with the Final Fantasy games? Was that last year or like even earlier than that? Like
I feel like honestly that was 2020. I feel like 2020 was like started reading some Lovecraft stuff, and then I was like, I should play Bloodborne again.
Yeah.
Having no idea why, because I originally played Bloodborne and bounced off of it and was like, I hate this game. I paid $60 for that game, and then I think I traded it back in like a week. I was like, never again.
Yep.
And then started reading them, and then I was like, I'll try Bloodborne again. And something about it just clicked with me. And then ever since, I just haven't been able to put those games down. They're so good.
That rules. All right, Ben, what was your number 2 game of the year?
Can't wait to hear Ben talk about Liza P for his number 2. Ben, go ahead.
P-Organ. No, I've heard the ending of that game, like the teaser or whatever for the next game, and it's so funny. It sounds funny. So, all right, my number 2 is Dave the Diver.
Hell yeah, dude.
Anybody have that higher?
I do not.
It was my number 6.
Start playing that this week though. I just beat the Squid, and I really like it a lot. That game's fucking cool.
That game is good. It's a cool game. It has the same kind of style of loop as Dredge, but I think it's better than Dredge. I like all the little mini things. I've heard it being compared to like a Yakuza game just because of all the crazy stuff that you can do in it. And that game goes places. Like it just keeps adding and adding and adding different stuff to it. And almost to its detriment, I would say. Because it just gets a little heavy at the end, especially because it just opens up a bunch of different stuff. And so, but the core loop, regardless, especially if you're playing it just straight through, is exceptional. It's just fun. The characters are interesting. The mechanics are really interesting. It's a really good like upgrade game. It's a very good exploration game at some points. I'm excited to see what they do with it like in the future. I wish there were a few more environments and like that the environments changed a little bit more. But other than that, like I think it's just really cool. It's just a really cool game. It's amazing on Steam Deck. It's my Steam Deck game. I think I put like how many hours I put into Dave the Diver, and they were all on Steam Deck. Like all my hours are on Steam Deck. So it's just it's just that kind of game. I have put 40 hours into it, and it was all handheld on Steam Deck.
Yeah, that's like double what I put into it. Yeah. I wish if I would have known I was getting a Steam Deck, I totally would have waited. Not that it isn't a good Switch game, but it has been a little bit chunky with the frame rate and stuff. Like the more involved the game gets and stuff, I really wish I had waited because now like there's no way to like migrate my save, and it's like I'm not about to like start over after 15 hours. But I echo everything Ben says. I was the one that talked Ben into playing it. Now he's beat it and played it more than I have just because the end of the year was like a scramble, like Alex did to like play new stuff and like finish other stuff. And Sea of Stars and Dave the Diver are the big 2 that I really wish I would have had time to finish, and I just ran out of time. But really, really love this game. I've kind of hit a wall 15 hours in with the Sea People stuff where it's like it was really a bunch of fetch questy stuff for a while. But the core loop, though, is one of the best ever in this type of game. It's just
so addicting.
It's so addicting. It's got that addicting aspect that Dredge has, where it's like just the one more run aspect, except the runs in this are like that. Like I said, if my complaint with Dredge is that the runs were too short for a long time, this one like, fixes that because they're significantly longer. Even with like your starting oxygen capacity is still much more. You get to dive in, no pun intended, much deeper at first, even with the lowest oxygen tank capacity. But everything about it just works so well. Alex and I mentioned how fucking cool the cutscenes are and like the animations and stuff are.
They're so accessible.
The art is so good. The art is so pretty.
It's
a beautiful game.
The art is exceptionally good. And Boncho, we almost gave him best character, but we ended up giving him a minor award of coolest dude from last year.
He's so cool.
He's so fucking cool. Dude. And
he gets cooler throughout too, because you like learn about him and like kind of what brought him to that sushi restaurant and stuff.
Yeah, there was like
this
a
guy is like unwavering
segment, of him like cutscenes. Does it go beyond that then too? Because I played the one part of the story where it was like a 5-minute long like part where you had to
keep learning about him.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
It's cool, and it's just always so funny because everyone comes into your shop so cynical, and then they eat it, and they're like their face explodes in this funny like anime way,
like the stars in their eyes animation.
Yeah. And so it's just good. I mean, like towards the end game isn't super like. I mean, kind of the same with any game. I'm trying to like 100% it, but it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And so, but like the main game was just top notch.
everything
super
about
cool.
it is satisfying. Like
Yeah.
finally getting good at the grapple hook and finally being able to like catch bigger fish once you upgrade it.
Mhm.
Finally being able to upgrade your oxygen tank and stay down there. Like I think like the longest run I've been down there for like 20 minutes, and like that's only going to continue to get better as I
Yeah.
expand the oxygen tank. It's just so satisfying. The story is pretty good. I think you and I would agree, Ben, the boss battles might be the weakest link of the game. Like
Yeah, probably.
they're not great. Like some of the early ones are exciting because they're new to the game. Like you haven't done them up until that point, but they do get kind of like frustrating because like you really don't have the greatest movement when you're underwater unless you have like one of those scooter things, that makes you go quicker. Some of the boss battles I found myself getting frustrated because you just can't move fast enough. I was unable to like dodge enemy attacks just because unless you commit to moving in a certain direction way ahead of time,
Yeah. I'd also say just like the combat in general in that game is not interesting. Like it's kind of a bummer they have like, and this is probably why it ended up as number 2 for me. Even though I really loved it, there's really no reason to do any other guns other than the tranq guns.
Yeah.
Like you either turn one of the weapons that they give you into a tranquilizer version of it, or you use the dart gun, or like, and maybe you use the net. But like, there's no real reason to like, I have a toxic gun or whatever. Like, it's kind of pointless. Like, because you're not really fighting anything other that you can't do with just your like grapple hook or whatever.
And it reduces the quality of the fish to use for the sushi when you shoot it too. So it's like you almost get punished for shooting the fish. I've had to use the gun in the early game to like shoot sharks because I have no other choice at first. But it's like it is a weird gun system. So like the combat and the boss fights are probably the weakest link of the game, I would say for sure.
Yeah.
But everything about it, like the further I've got into it, it's not really a spoiler, Alex. It's just some of the stuff that they add. They add like a fish farm mechanic, which I really haven't used too much. They add like a farm mechanic where they make you like grow rice for a quest. I haven't engaged with those systems too much beyond what they present, just because with the sushi, once you're able to stay underwater for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, you catch enough different unique fish to where it's like, I don't really need to engage with the fish farm all that much to get a specific type of fish really. Like, and then I was telling you, Alex, too, it's like once you like just start doing the upgrades at a certain point, you can just do the upgrades as they pop up and you don't have to feel bad about like losing inventory or not having enough dishes to cook because you have so many different kinds that you unlock.
Yeah.
And it's just
it only comes to like when you're really trying to upgrade your restaurant that you have to really worry about what dishes you're serving because it's like tied to like the happiness level or whatever, and only certain dishes can get you there. So if you're really paying attention to that stuff, then it really matters. But other than that, like I would use the fish farm to make money so I could like buy upgrades or whatever. And since I'm trying to like kind of 100% it, like I want to get all the upgrades, but it's cool. Like the core loop is exceptional. It's never ending good.
Yeah.
Like I won't complain about it probably ever. The only thing like I would like a little bit extra variety in the environments, and that would make it even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dave the Diver.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
Aaron, I think you would like that game.
Probably. I played the demo and I could see like I would definitely get into this, but it seems like it just kind of went on for a long time. Like that there was a lot to it, which isn't a bad thing. I just didn't know I wouldn't have time for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I like the early game where I'm at. Like I said, I've only done the first boss where it's the flow I kind of got myself into was like, okay, the mornings I'm gonna try to progress. Like I'm gonna look for the shit I need to do for a quest and see if I can find it without the fucking blade shark owning my ass.
Yeah.
And then catch some small stuff along the way, but like I'm mostly just trying to explore. And then the second time it's like, all right, afternoon, I need to have some fish for tonight to actually make sure I focus entirely on just filling up however many fish I can hold, and then I go up and then do the sushi stuff at night. And it's cool. Like I can very easily see it get to a point where I'm like, okay, I like doing this stuff, and they keep giving me new things that when you have a million systems, I'm sure there's going to be a couple that you don't love as much as the other stuff. But like I love it. I've been playing it all handheld on my Switch.
Right on.
That's how I played it too. I played it on the TV one time, and I told Ben it was mind blowing to see it blown up on a big screen because I played the first 14 hours of the 15 hours I played of that game on handheld, and then seeing it giant on the TV was wild. But as far as like the day night stuff too, I really have rarely done night dives just because I want to have as much time as I can with the restaurant. Because if you do the night dives, it takes away your time in the restaurant at night. So
I haven't even unlocked those. So that'd be cool.
So yeah, I love the restaurant stuff too. Upgrading the staff was like a major requirement at first.
Yes.
Like having people just to help you wait, like not only cook better, with Boncho, but the wait
Yep.
staff was like a huge quality of life thing that I like W keyed it. I was like, I'm walking into this, I'm going forward. This is what I'm dumping all my money into right now, hiring these people, like interviewing, doing all that stuff. So fantastic game. I've hit a little bit of a wall with it, but I'm excited to get back to it at some point. Wish I could transfer it to the Steam Deck, but it is what it is.
Very unique game.
Yeah. Okay. So
we're on ones now.
Josh, you're number one, baby.
We did it.
My number one, not much fanfare really. Resident Evil 4 remake.
Boo!
Actually, it's Lies of P2 is my number one.
Perfect. I knew that we were going to talk about it more.
Yeah, and I'm going to spoil the shit out of it. You're not gonna believe what Goldilocks does in this one, bro. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I talked about it a ton with Alex last night. We've talked about it already a lot here today. It's my favorite horror game of all time. They fully remade parts of this game and made them better. It like even more so than Dead Space. They took probably most people's biggest issue with the game, which was how the combat felt and the tank controls of shooting, and they made it more like the modern Resident Evil remakes, and it makes the game so much better. It's like one of the biggest quality of life improvements I've ever seen in a game that I love. Of course, the classic inventory management stuff is just some classic great shit. What are you buying? What are you selling? The inventory man, the sales, the trader guy. It's just, what more can you say? I mean, if I sit here and praise it, I'm just going to be talking about how good Resident Evil 4 is. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's my favorite horror game of all time. The remake is even better. I'll let you and Aaron and Alex say whatever they want to say about it. I mean, there's not much more I can say about it. I can't rant on and on about it any more than I already have. It's fucking excellent. It's outstanding.
I would want to say about it is that like going into it, that it didn't even have a chance, right? Like, I really liked the second remake. I really liked the third remake, but it got to this thing for me where it was like, why are you even remaking 4? 4 is like a perfect game. And it really, like, I was so skeptical when they announced it, when they started showing stuff, and I was like, I'm sure this game's going to be good, but it's not going to be Resident Evil 4 good. And it is impressive to me that they were able to pull it off.
Yep.
And that was what that was my takeaway more than anything, is that like I just couldn't believe that they did it. That they still were able to stay so true to the original game, keep so much of the humor from the original game in it, and just like be able to expand on stuff and make parts of 4 that were like, looking back on it, kind of annoying, just so much better.
I mean, honestly, the only annoying part they left in the game for me is that fucking hedge maze part. I mean, that part's just
me, like, I thought that this was still like, I don't know when the last time you played Resident Evil 4 was, but like I played it, I feel like last year, and that hedge maze piece in this game I just thought was so much better.
Yeah, they improved it. I mean, to me, it's just the weakest part of the game in general, like that little section. I've just never been a big fan of it, but it's such a small complaint in the grand scheme of things. The real impressive feat that they need to work on next is remaking 5 and 6 and making them good games. That'd be very impressive if they could do that. And I don't even think 5 is necessarily
4, but co-op.
Yeah.
Holy fuck! If they did, fix the problems with 5.
A couple years ago, Aaron and I replayed 5 and 6 together co-op, and 6 is like
so bad.
It's not the worst game I've ever played, and it was much more tolerable playing it with you than when I played it by myself the first time. But I would love to see them continue this and go for 5 and 6, and they're fucking crazy enough. I know they're gonna do it. I would put my money on it that they're gonna at least go through 5.
To talk about other games that didn't come out this year that much, but like 6 always boggled my mind, because when that game came out, it really got a lot of praise, and I still remember us playing it and being like, what is happening?
What the fuck are people talking
saying
about?
Good things about this game.
Yeah. It's such a weird game, and so weird too. It's just non-Resident Evil in a lot of ways too, and like you have to give it to them, like, for trying to innovate the series, like the way they've tried to over the years to keep it interesting. It's just a lot of those like left turns they've made from their usual style haven't really worked out in their favor a whole lot, besides making it first person for 7 and 8, which was a fucking fantastic idea, and it works really well. Like, I think
I would say really the past couple of years, most of their decisions they made with Resident Evil have been great. Like, I feel like they've really they really like
they found their
series. Yeah, that series just got so weird of all the stuff that they were doing, and then they were finally like, "Hey, let's just make good Resident Evil games." And I feel like we're finally there. We're finally at a point where it's like, "Oh, hey, they finally understand what makes these games good, and they're just going to stick to that."
That lull between 4 and 7 really tested us, I think, as Resident Evil fans for sure
Yeah.
over the years. But I'm so happy to have seen them turn it around. Alex, have you played 7 or 8 before?
I have them both. I have not played them yet.
You need to
for
stream
this
them.
year,
You need to stream them, especially
Seven's
7.
going to be the scariest game I ever play.
It's
I can
pretty
already
much
tell.
that and Outlast, I think, are the two scariest games I've ever played. Aaron had to coach me through finishing 7 because it kept giving me anxiety. Outlast is like even more so. I think Outlast might be the scariest game I've ever played, and I don't know if I could ever finish it. I would love to see you at least attempt to stream both these games. Like, I'll donate money to your channel to make it happen if I need to. I'm desperate to see you try to play these games on stream.
Oh.
7 kind of is its own thing, but 8 is
Yeah.
actually a really cool. Like it reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 4.
It's a
Like they
mix.
did a
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good mix of the two styles for sure. And I'd be curious to go back and play that third person mode in 8 now to see how it feels.
yeah. I'd be
Oh,
curious
yeah.
too.
But anyway,
Ben, you got anything you want
Yeah.
to say about Resident Evil 4?
Not really. It was cool to hear you guys talk about the changes.
Yeah.
Because like that's what I wanted to hear about. Because like I know 4 is regarded as like one of the best games ever. Not really my bag. Again, the third-person shooter, story-based game with scary stuff in it. Not for me. But yeah, no, I respect it for sure.
Good
Yeah,
shit.
You should play that DLC. You'd like it.
Okay, I'll get around to it at some
I
point.
do need to play that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
my only thing I could even potentially add to this game is I, much like everything else horror-wise, had not played it before this year, but I watched my dad play it growing up, and it was really fun. If they wouldn't have remade it, I don't think I ever could have got past the tank controls. Like, I just couldn't, like, jumping into that now, it's just, I don't know. I know I played a little bit on your stream before I almost exploded your Xbox doing it, Josh, but this remake was needed for me to play it and enjoy it, and there's just not many better feeling things in the game than shooting a dude in the kneecap and then walking over as Leon and just roundhouse kicking him in the face and then dominoing like 4 other guys onto the ground.
Yeah.
It just feels so good
Just
to play.
think about how far we've come from the Xbox 360 version of Resident Evil 4 destroying my Xbox One X to Resident Evil 4 Remake now being my favorite horror game of all time, and them just like perfecting an already damn near perfect game. Like, we've tried so hard and we've come so far, but in the end, it actually did matter.
Yeah. Oh, what a game.
That's it. That's the podcast.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Who's even next? Aaron? Did Aaron already go?
No, it's Alex.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Alex.
Alex.
Oh, that's right.
That was
that's
your
right.
number one.
Sorry, yeah, I forgot. All right.
Yep.
Yep, go ahead.
My number one we have actually already talked about for multiple hours on your channel, Josh. I think I had
Blowing my mind. I put this together, Alex. Not to interrupt you, but like
No,
I put
yeah.
this together while we were like out on the break. I was like, oh wow, this
We
is
haven't
it.
talked about it yet. Yeah. There were, I think, at any point this year, I think Baldur's Gate 3, I think Zelda, I think Sea of Stars, I think Hogwarts could have been my number one. And at different moments, I think they might have been. But the more I thought about it, I think Final Fantasy 16 blew my fucking mind in like the dumbest, best ways. More
Hell
than
yeah,
any
dude.
other game. Like it. Like again, I love Final Fantasy. I haven't played that many of them, but what I have played, I do really enjoy. So I was very excited for this game, and the Game of Thrones comparisons going into it. Huge Game of Thrones fan, minus the dog shit ending of that. But like that idea of like Game of Thrones plus God of War plus actual like medieval fantasy in a Final Fantasy game. And then we're also going to throw these like fucking kaiju battles in there that are just absurd and look awesome. Like, it's definitely my favorite implementation of summons that I've ever seen in a Final Fantasy game. Like, oh, they just are basically Attack on Titan characters where they just fucking turn into these insane monsters. And they just look so cool. It's over the top. It's like, I think the phrase I just keep coming back to is like spectacular in like every way, where it's just like, it is a spectacle on the screen for this entire game. I love Ben Starr, the voice actor of Clive. Like, he's so fucking cool outside of the game and what he does in like in the gaming community and stuff like that. And his him being a Final Fantasy fan, like he gave Clive the right amount of like cheesiness of like, it's me, I'm gruff action guy, Clive Rossfield, and he just like fucking owns every bit of it. I love Sid in this game, like his implementation I thought was fun. But like most of it's just like the badass music. I actually did like the combat with it being much more of an action game. I think we talked about it before, but I think they had the Devil May Cry dudes made the combat for this game, so it's very punchy. The action's fun. You know, it's a lot of just cooldown management, but it all looks cool on the screen. You can actually make like fun builds out of it too. And if you're like if interested at all in this game, there's that 3-hour demo that's still up on PlayStation. That opening to the game is what got me hooked. Like I bought this game, it was going to wait on it because I was ready for Diablo 4 to take over my life, and that didn't really happen. But I was, you know what, I'll stream the beginning of the game because I think it'd be fun. And I played it, and I was like, this is really good, and I'm actually really liking what they're going with here with this, you know, political intrigue, drama, backstabbing in a Final Fantasy game. Like it just really, really hit home in a way. And like the number of times I'd be playing this game, and like my mouth would literally drop at just the insane shit that was going on. Like these cutscenes are insane. The icon battles where you're taking down like, you know, Titan is this massive, hundreds of foot tall rock dude that's just like this insane guy, and it's like a 30-minute sequence to fight him, which sounds insufferable on the surface, but they actually made it work where a fight could be that long with different phases and stuff that it's still fun. The Bahamut and like Dion specifically stuff going on in this game, like when you fight Bahamut, you literally go to space. And it's just it's just outrageous what's happening on screen. And the more and more I thought about this game, I was like, is it my number one? Like I know it's one of those things like last year. I don't think Pokemon Legends Arceus is the best game that came out last year. Like God of War was my number 2. Like that's an objectively better video game in a lot of ways than Arceus, but like I love the hell out of that game, and I had a lot of fun experiencing that game. That's how
Your
Final Fantasy
favorite.
16 was for me. Yeah, it's my favorite game.
Right.
And this game was just so much dumb fun, and the story actually, you know, it's a little long in the tooth at certain moments. There's some lulls in between story bits to get to those crazy fights, but being bought in on what they're doing and like liking Clive and knowing what he's doing and how this world just reacts to basically what feels like on the surface like terrorist attacks of Clive and his group destroying these crystals, but they know that they're actually doing it to save the world in a way, and just how everybody reacts to them doing that. Actually, I just found it very interesting, and I had a great time with it. And I think part of it being a surprise made me like it that much too. Like I knew I was gonna like Hogwarts. I knew I was gonna like Zelda. Once I'd played the other games, I knew I was gonna like Resident Evil. But Final Fantasy actually surprised me in some ways that I liked it that much that I just couldn't take it off the top of my list. It's been number 1 since we talked about it. In what, July
Nice.
or August? And
Yeah,
just,
so
Yeah,
shout
that's
out,
awesome.
shameless self-promotion again for Addict to Now Gaming, but I'm very proud of the spoiler cast that we released for Final Fantasy 16 on the channel
Mhm.
last year. That was me and Aaron and Alex that recorded that. I mean, not only did we go through all of Final Fantasy 16, we started out with like our personal histories with the entire franchise. Um, Alex gave a really succinct, really knowledgeable overview of the entire story and characters of Final Fantasy 16, and then we went into spoilers and our impressions and everything. And no
Mhm.
big surprise, Aaron and Alex were a lot hotter on this game than I was. But I mean, look at Alex. Alex, look at our awards last night. I mean, it was nominated for Best Music. It won 2 out of 3 for our boss fights. One of
Yeah.
our oh shit moments was literally every fucking boss fight in Final Fantasy
Yeah, it's
16,
just-
word for word. So I mean, it would be undeniable for me to not put this on my top 10, even with all my issues with it. You know, just with how long it was and how much I struggled to stick with it in the middle part of the game. It's
Yeah.
undeniably it's got some of the best Final Fantasy. I mean, even some of the best RPG moments, especially the boss fights that I've ever seen in a game. Um, there's just something about Final Fantasy VII Remake that I like better than this game. I haven't been able to quite put my finger on what that is about it, because the
Mhm.
combat is kind of similar in a lot of ways. You know, I really don't know. I just think I like 7 Remake more. I'm very excited to play Rebirth next month. But yeah, it would be stupid for me to say that this game doesn't have a lot of great things going on for it, because it really does. And with how passionate you were about it last year, it really shouldn't be a surprise to any of us that it's your number one, because you carried the fucking torch for this game so hard last year. And so I love to see it.
Such a good time.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked
I
it.
pre-ordered Rebirth last night. Can't wait to play it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to add. I think it's awesome that it's your number one. Like, I think that's super cool. I definitely like those boss battles are some of the coolest things I have ever done in a video game, and I feel like that is going to remain true, like, moving forward. Like, they were just unmatched with just how, like, the spectacle and just like the design of them, and I don't know, it was just so many cool moments. I think for me, I feel like it would have been higher if I would have played it like you did, where I wasn't really doing a lot of the side stuff. And I feel like because I wasn't doing the side stuff, I just didn't get as invested in the world. And I feel like that was kind of my barrier of like why I didn't like it more. Because I felt like I just got to the point where I was like, this game's long, and I really don't care about anybody other than the main characters in this game. But yeah, I mean, I still loved what I played. I'm excited whenever they put out that second DLC. I'm going to get both of them and play them. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I was going to, in the middle of you talking, I remembered about the DLC because I was going to bring that up because I did end up playing that DLC as well.
Did you?
Yeah, it's so short. I
really?
played it in one sitting. It's like 3 hours long. Yeah. It's really just like one quest line. I think it's Echoes of the Fallen. It's called. But it feels like that one that's supposed to come out in the spring is going to be the much more substantial one. This one was pretty cool. It's like they find. I think it starts off by Karen, the shopkeep, throws like a crystal on the table to Clive, and she's like, "Yeah, there's like another crystal out there. Apparently, he's like showing up on the black market." But instead of it being like bright and full of light, they call them dust crystals because they're like this dark purple. And it's like, what the hell? There's another, like, we can't kill the final boss if we don't break all the crystals. It's kind of where they like put it into the story. So they have to investigate what the hell this other thing is. And it's nothing crazy. Like, if anything, I found it was kind of hard because I hadn't played the game in months. So I was like trying to get my bearings again on the combat. But it's a nice little.
I'll tell you, I tried jumping back in a couple months after that game came out, and I was like, whoa, I didn't remember that the combat was this in depth.
Yeah, I was like, I suck at this game, and I remember zooming all over this before. But yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be one of those things like when they eventually make the whatever they call their complete edition that includes all those DLCs and stuff. I bet it's gonna be an awesome value, and yeah, it's a fun ass game.
One more final thought for you, Alex, with everything we've talked about so far, with you potentially being interested in some Dark Souls stuff. Do you think Stranger of Paradise would bridge that gap for you to get into Final Fantasy meets Dark Souls with everything you know about that?
Answer this for Alex.
I don't know. Who knows? Is that the one that they keep on Giant Bomb? Like Tam kept like bringing up for.
Yes, it's
okay.
Everything I've seen about it looks absolutely fucking ridiculous. And as soon as I found out that it was like a Dark Souls game, I was like, I'm out. Even though I'm pretty open minded about playing Final Fantasy stuff nowadays, but I was like, this if it's ever on PlayStation Plus or something, I feel like you really should give it a chance. Especially now that like even if you're like slightly interested in playing Bloodborne or Lies of P, I would love to see you start to stream this game just so you can see how fucking ridiculous some of the character and story stuff is.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. I will say this was to touch on the Dark Souls thing. I never would have thought in 1,000 million years that I would like horror games, and I've had a blast with them. Maybe 2024 is the year I try Souls games, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'm on board on these two. So
I mean, your wife bought you Elden Ring as a joke.
I was gonna say you already own Elden Ring, so
I know it's sitting there 5 feet behind me. I'm sure it's just waiting to happen.
All right, so Aaron's up next for his number one.
I'm gonna say, so my number one, I'm gonna give like a quick shout out to two other games, but like it's connected. So my number one is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I absolutely say that when this game was announced, I did not care at all about it. I really liked Breath of the Wild, but as soon as it was announced, like, we're making a sequel to Breath of the Wild, I was like, I don't care. Then they announced the game. They showed like gameplay footage. I saw that like a big component of it was like building things, And then I said even more, oh, I do not care about this game. I do not want to build in a Zelda game. This game has no interest for me. Like, I care less about it. So this year I did go back and I played the Zelda Ages of what's it called? Is it Ocarina of Seasons? I can't even remember.
Oh, Story of
Oracle,
Ages or
Oracle.
something?
Yeah, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages.
That's right.
Just like had a blast. They were old Game Boy Color games and just had a really good time playing them again. And I got done with them and I was like, I should just play the new Zelda. I picked it up and I just fell in love with that game to the point where like I couldn't put it down, and my Switch actually broke halfway through playing the game. The fan inside of it just stopped working. And I got to the point where I was like, well, I'm either going to buy a new Switch or I'm going to rip this entire thing apart and replace the fan. And then I ended up ripping the entire thing apart to replace the fan so I could keep playing this game. I loved so much about it. I loved just I for going in and not caring at all about the building mechanics. I just couldn't believe how much I enjoyed over and over and over again using the building mechanics to solve the puzzles in the game.
100% agree.
Yeah, I had no interest in it. Like the only game that I've ever feel like I've enjoyed the building was in Minecraft. And every other game that I've ever tried with building mechanics, I just have not cared at all. And I just fell in love with this game and just the way, like the ease of using Ultra Hand and the ease of using that ascend ability where it would like send you up through platforms, just changed the way that like I feel like traversal in games has ever been done. And yeah, just I don't know. I feel like I could talk about it forever. I feel like a lot of the things I liked were still very Breath of the Wild related. And I feel like the other thing I would say, I really liked the story, how you kind of got to go about it in your own way as you were exploring the world and finding the tears on the ground and kind of connecting the whole story of what's happening. And the final boss fight was absolutely exceptional. And yeah, I loved it. I think
cool, dude.
For me, like at one point I did put Lies of P on my list. Just because kind of going back to what you were saying, Alex, of like, this was the game I enjoyed the most. And the second I put it at the top of the list, I was like, no, this isn't right. And I just moved it down to number 2 just immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben, did you play? You had Tears on your list too, right?
Yeah, I did. It was lower than, I think I have it as number 4.
Okay, and it was 5 for me. Yeah, so Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda of all time, but I think this is my favorite story in a Zelda game. Like I don't normally think of the story as much in Zelda games, but specifically the tears, like you mentioned, Aaron. What happened with Zelda and the Master Sword? I was thinking about it. I think it's my favorite Nintendo story like element that I've ever played.
Yeah,
it's the fucking coolest thing,
and just so well done.
Yeah, and like knowing it was there the whole time is what really got me. Like, I know like on MinMax's stuff, I believe it was Sarah talked about like the whole like doing it at your like finding it in like different orders and stuff. Like, kind of gave her an experience that she didn't really like it. Like, she stumbled into where the Master Sword was before she had learned about it, and like I could see that being a little bit different. Like, I really liked I found all the tears. That was the first thing that I became obsessed with. It was like, I gotta get all the towers, and I gotta go find these tears. Like, I'm gonna unlock the map and find these out because I want to see this story. But just like what they did with Zelda, like in a game where I would have liked her to have been around more, but like just her sacrifice to do all that was just so massive, and like, you know, thousands and thousands of years as a dragon to just to set that up for Link to be able to save the day later on. And like, so much of the story actually hit so much harder than I was anticipating in this.
And I would strongly agree with that.
Yeah. And I'm with you with the building stuff. Like, I don't usually like building games, and I honestly got kind of intimidated by TikTok at first because there's so many cool ass things people were making, and I'm like, I'm dumb. I can't do that shit. Like, I'm gonna have a bad time because I'm not super creative in that type of way. But like, they did the perfect thing where it's like, oh no, I just found like a very simple thing that just works for me. That was my fun, and like I could just appreciate on the side, like, oh yeah, people are making these massive things that ultimately you don't need to do. It was just for fun. I think also helped. The more I played the game, it's like, oh yeah, all that shit's just like if you want to, but the building is just like succinct and like it's just smart. It's like it's a dev kit as a game, and it's Zelda, and it's like 1 billion hours long. It's awesome.
Yeah. I think, yeah, for me too, like just the ease of just, I don't know. Got my big thing was I would just put 2 fans on something and it would just move for me. And I was like, this is great. This is all I need. I don't need to do anything crazy like what I'm seeing in these YouTube videos. Because I was the same too. Like when that game came out, I saw the YouTube videos and I was like, I can't do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the ease of being able to just, nope, you don't have to do all that. I would say the other thing too that was wild to me, and this happened with just a casual conversation with Ben at one point. I probably put 60 hours into that game, and at one point he said something to me along the lines of, "Wasn't the sign stuff cool?" And I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
Oh wow!
And he was like telling me about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I saw those sign dudes, and I kind of talked to them, but I never like paid attention to them. I was just kind of like clicking through their dialogue, and I wanted to just keep moving along, and never realized like what it was."
Yeah. Oh, what a game. And the whole depths thing being just not even mentioned leading up to the game, and then just how massive that ends up being. Like, holy shit. The first time going down there could have been a no shit moment as well, Josh. Like, we realized, like, oh, it's the whole fucking map, and it's like a mirror of the whole map. And shrines on the surface are roots down here, and it's like spelled backwards. Like, what the fuck? It's so cool.
Told me about that, and I just like I couldn't even believe it. I was like, "This is incredible! Yeah. It's so cool!"
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that was a fun moment when I told you. I was like, "You should look at the names of those." You're like, "Oh my god!" I really enjoyed that game, and then it just got to be so much.
Yeah.
I did very much in it, like. Yeah, well, and the other thing was like some of the side stuff was cool, but then it's just like, bro, I'm trying to save the world, like trying to like rescue you idiots, and you're having me do all this stupid stuff that like I really like got weird about that game when I ran into like the town mayor race or whatever, and I was like, why are you?
This cannot be important right now.
I'm a hero. Like, yeah, exactly. This cannot be important. This is stupid. Why are you talking to me about this and making it seem like it's my job to do any of this? Like, yeah. I'm here to buy stuff. Like, I need bombs.
Right. Give me them bombs. A lot of arrows again.
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that clip and put it all over social media. Ben Leisure 2024. I need bombs.
I need arrows. I need bombs. I need bomb arrows. I need eyes.
Ben, did you beat that game?
No.
I wish you would.
I got to that point. Like, I know. I think I would. I mean, I would really like it. Like, some of the combat stuff was good. Those dragons can get fucked. I hate them.
Yeah.
All of them, like the Gleoks or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, I got wrecked by one.
I was like, what are we? That's crazy. But yeah, I like a lot of it. I really enjoyed, like I said, and I was starting to lose momentum, and then I hit that part, and I was just like, I'm out. Like, there's other stuff to play right now. I need to get out of this world because I did so much in the depths. Like, I had a blast doing that, like just as like an exploration kind of weird style of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And then like to get up top and like do some of the stuff was cool. And then I know I did like 3 or 4 temples. I think I did 3 temples. Like, I have 3 companions or whatever, and then I just kind of ran out of momentum on it. So, I'll get back to it, I think. I'll probably try and go beat it.
Yeah. You'll have 6 more years till the next.
Yeah, for sure.
Zelda to get through it. I also loved the very, very end, Aaron. I thought that sequence was really cool.
Yeah. No, I was impressed. And I don't know, just like the of, I don't even know what word I would want to use, like the stakes just near the end.
Yep.
We're just, I don't know, it was cool. Ben, I would love for you to see the end of that game because it's pretty spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch it. Like, honestly, like I can see myself going back to beat it when I have a lot of downtime, but you know, just other stuff.
The one thing I'll say, maybe it was to some degree, maybe the funniest moment for me this year, and Ben, it'll be like a minor spoiler for you. But whenever you go and you fight Ganon near the end, you do like a phase 1, and then the phase 2, his health bar starts to recharge.
No, I've
and
heard all about it. Yeah, it sounds so crazy.
Yeah. And it was just so funny, and just not expecting it to happen it was really great.
Yeah, I listened to the Min-Max Deepest Dive on it because, like, I'm not a guy who really cares about spoilers for that kind of stuff, and I knew I wasn't probably going to get back to play it. Yeah. So, yeah, I was just like, wow, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story stuff is wild. Like, it really is, like, all the Zelda stuff and all the other stuff. And just like, I know you didn't care for it for a while, but like watching highlight reel and seeing all the stuff that people would build, like that's fun.
I cared so much more about that once I actually played the game.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I really viewed it like Alex did, where I was just like, in a way, I was like, man, I don't even want to play this game. If this is what I have to, like, not like thinking like, this is what I have to do, but like, if this is how you have to like face challenges, like this isn't a me thing. But like having beat it and then going back and like seeing all that stuff, it was cool.
Yeah.
I guess one other thing I would say too, Breath of the Wild, by the time I got to near the end of it, I was like, man, I'm going to get all these shrines, and then just kind of got burnt out, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Tears of the Kingdom, I ended up getting every single shrine in that game, just because I wanted to just keep playing it. I just wanted to see what the shrines were and how just the different types and different challenges to get to them, and just really enjoyed that aspect of it. So I thought that was cool too, because I always go into games thinking I'm going to complete all of this stuff and then just kind of get near the end and get burnt out. And this is one of the few where I actually did it. I actually got all those shrines, and then at the end I was like, yeah, that feels really good. That was really cool.
Oh yeah, I love the shrines. That's my favorite part of Breath of the Wild and this. It's those mini puzzles. Like,
yeah.
So good.
Yeah, the shrine design was excellent. It felt like a whole different puzzle game. Like, that was the crazy part.
Yeah.
And it taught you how to be better at the stuff that Aaron and I didn't love as much. Like, you could either figure out, like, oh, putting these together, I should do this cool thing. I should do that outside. It'll help me do this other thing. And because of the toolkit they give you, you could also just, like, completely fucking break every shrine if you want. Like, I remember I had one moment where I realized, oh, if I just, like, pick up this thing, this wood plank, raise it up really high, and let it go, and then do return on it while I'm standing on it, it'll just get me up really high, and I'll just paraglide to where I need to go. I did that for one puzzle, and I like had it in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, this would work every time, I think, for most of these puzzles where I got to get from A to B. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do it that way. But it is cool that they're like, yeah, I mean, if you want, sure, however you want to play it. Like, that's the way you can do it.
Yeah, I think that... Go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say, like, even talking about that, like, I feel like because of those shrines, I also got better at the combat. Like, some of those combat encounters, there was one in particular where I was just, like, hitting my head against the wall. I'm like, I'm getting frustrated with this. And then I realized it's because I wasn't really diving into, like, the fuse mechanic as much as I could.
Yeah.
And then once I finally figured out, like, oh, I need to fuse this with my weapon, and then it will just help me just, push farther in this. I was like, this is so cool. I got to the point where I was so excited anytime I would go to those shrines and then it would be a combat encounter, because I was just like, I loved so much it just using that to teach you how to be better at the game.
Hard agree.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, what do you got, Ben?
What do I got? A game none of you have played, I'm pretty sure, and almost nobody else has played.
I have no idea what your number one is. I really don't. I'm excited to hear what it is.
It's amazing indie game that I played in June. I sat and beat it 4 times in a row on the same day and have not gone back to it. But it's called Mr. Sun's Hat Box. And
you just made that
up. I don't know.
It
sounds like a made-up name for a game, but it's so fun, you guys. Okay, so imagine like a fun, like kind of hardcore platformer, right? Okay. That has some side scrolling shooter elements to it. but the only thing that shoots is your head. Well, no, you can get guns, so you have a gun, but you also get different hats. And the hats give you different abilities. So maybe you have like a drill hat. Maybe you have a cardboard box hat, right? That allows you to sneak and stealth around. It's a like immersive sim style game in that sense. But along with that, you also get the Fultoning mechanic from Metal Gear Solid 5. So you can steal enemies and items out of the levels you're in. You can brainwash them to become your soldiers or to go out and do other missions, or you can play as them in the main thing because they all have different traits. When you start off with the game, like they all have bad traits, like they'll sneeze, or if they see a gun, they run away from it, or like they get like if they get hit once, they get knocked out. And then you can like upgrade them through the base building mechanic. It just has like these crazy things in it. And it's so much fun. And I sat and played it for like 8 hours one day and just did all this stuff in it. The new game plus mechanic is so cool. The story is so goofy. You're a guy who like wants to get this hat delivered and it gets stolen from you, and then the delivery service shows up and like, we'll get it back. And they like dig out your basement and establish this paramilitary base essentially in it to get your hat back.
It sounds awesome.
It's wild. It's such a fascinating style of game that I've just not seen anybody else do. It reminds me of Hitman. It reminds me of Metal Gear Solid. Like, you are able to level your guys up and then like take them on, but like if they die, they die, right? Like it's very much that XCOM style, Iron Man style. And so you're just like running through recruits trying to like, oh, this mission's a little bit easier. Let me take this guy that has some cool traits, but maybe not all of them, so I can level him up so I can get rid of the bad trait and replace it. Or this guy can fly, so like he's good on these like cloud levels, and so I need to make sure that I get him leveled up, but he doesn't have nearly as many hit points as this other guy, so I gotta be really careful. And it's just so cool. It's just such a fun game, and no one played it and no one knows about it. I'm so happy. Like, I'm happy that it got number 50 on Polygon's list, but like that's the only place I've seen it all year. I watched I think Jeff Gershman played it earlier this year, and I think maybe Leo Vader from MinMax played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And he talked about it, and it's just a blast. It's just such a fun little game. And I streamed it to some friends earlier, like on Discord when I was playing it, and like it's just goofy. It's just goofy fun. It's all mechanics. And the story that's there is just a funny story. And so, yeah, Mr. Sun's Hat Box.
Is it just on Steam? I'm trying to see if it's on.
I think it might be on Switch.
That's why it feels like a game that looks like a good Switch game.
Mr. Sun's.
I think it's just no. It is on Switch.
Oh, yeah, buy on Steam, buy on Switch.
You can play it on the Mac.
Yeah, buy on Switch.
April 20th.
Yes.
That's wild.
We like watch the launch trailer or watch any part or like look at their website or any of like the stuff, because it's like a full underground XCOM style base.
Yeah.
You like the boss battles are so funny because it's just this guy that wears a ton of hats. And so you just have to like, because you can jump on a guy once, knock their hat off, and then jump on them again if they don't have like a spiky hat on, and then knock them out, and then like you can swap out your hat for their hat. Anything you take back with you to the base is yours that you can use again later, and then you can Fulton stuff out, and that becomes yours, or you can Fulton the guys out, and that becomes yours. The interactions between the different stuff is crazy because there's like ice traps. It's very Spelunky in that way, right? Where you'll just be walking, miss a trap, or some interaction will happen with the character, and just all of a sudden you're dead, or all of a sudden everybody else is dead, or all of a sudden the alarm's on, and you're like, oh god, oh god, oh god. Because most of the time you're like kind of creeping and crawling through a level to try not to set anything off. But then, like, once the shit hits the fan, you're just like, okay, I gotta go. And you're just like, oh no, I hit this bounce pad, and now I'm just bouncing between the walls, up and down, up and down. And it's just a blast. It's just so funny and so fun. And it feels good, right? Like, it's snappy. Like, it would be so easy for this game to be super well designed and then just be like, this platforming feels like crap. Like, man, what a bummer, because it's so interesting. But you're just like, I can't play this. And just everything comes together to create an amazing game. And I was like so close to putting this as like my number 2 or my number 3, and I was like, no, like Heart of Hearts, this is probably my favorite game I played of 2023. Like, it's not one I put the most hours in, it's not the one that, you know, was like the most mind-blowing, but as far as like just fun, interesting, like good game, it's a great game. So
I love that. Go with your
Mr.
heart.
Sun's hat
Feel your
box.
passion.
Cool.
It's the game I'm definitely the most passionate about, because I was like, man, like nobody's talking about this game, and it's so good. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh man, Metal Gear Solid 5, you could take everything out of the thing. And it's like, dude, if you like Spelunky or Super Meat Boy and that game, like, go play Mr. Sun's hat box.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm gonna check this shit out. It looks very cool.
It's so good. I'll play some of it afterwards if you want to watch me play it, because I haven't played, like, I genuinely played it like 2 or 3 days in a row, and then was like, okay, I got my, like, for $20 I got what I wanted out of it. I think it was on sale because it was first out.
Mhm.
But like, I would gladly go back to it and play it some more.
Hell yeah.
Well, that is our top 10 of the year for 2023. As always, what a unique combination of games we all had, and that's what I love about us doing this. Aaron, I know you said you have to head out here before we do
Yeah, I
our
gotta
honorable
jump out.
mentions. Well, thank you as always, buddy, for popping up. I love hearing you talk about stuff as always every year.
Forever and always.
All right. Well, with that being said, Alex and I had a top 20 this year. So I'm going to go ahead and run through my 11 through 20 really quick, if you guys are
Yeah,
okay with
I'm gonna
that.
fly through my shit.
Yeah, I'm going to fly
Yep.
through mine pretty quick here.
Yeah.
Are you going to start with 11 and then go to 20, or are you going to go 20 to 11?
I'd probably go 20.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, we're already over the 3-hour mark on this, so we're not trying to do another 4-hour podcast. But it is really hard to not get passionate and get caught up in it and talk about stuff. Like, you guys talked about Final Fantasy 16 for like over 10 minutes, which I think is the most like that we talked about anything on this show today, which is cool. All right, so anyway, these are games obviously that weren't good enough to make my top 10, but none of these games are really bad in any way. They're all good in their own right. So my number 20 was We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie, probably the worst title of any game that I played this year. Yeah. I like the first Katamari better. I always have. There's still some frustrating parts about this sequel that kept me from finishing it, but just really happy that people are still passionate enough about Katamari for them to want to make a remake of this and put it out on modern consoles. Number 19, I have talked to Alex about this. Ben, have you heard of a game called Season: A Letter to the Future?
Yes.
Okay, so I played that, really enjoyed it, played it in an afternoon. Doesn't have a platinum trophy, but I got 100% of the trophies for it on PlayStation. You play a girl that rides around on a bike, and you take pictures and you record things in your journal. You're basically trying to piece together memories of a place that's had its entire history and memories wiped. And you're trying to help other people get their memories back too. And it's got some really touching parts to it where you're like trying to help this older woman who used to be an opera singer. You're like going around and trying to take pictures of her possessions to jog her memory and make her love and appreciate music again. So it's filled with little moments like that, and then again trying to like piece this world back together for yourself and for other people. And it's very charming. I think it's like a $15 game, so if you're able to get it for that price or any less, it's definitely worth playing. Number 18 is Dead Island 2, a game that I played like 10 hours of or less, just kind of fell off of it, but I think it's the best Dead Island game that they've ever made. Very fun and goofy and over-the-top zombie stuff. Number 17, a game that Alex and I both played, Venba. I think, Ben, loosely, you know what this game is, don't you?
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah.
I started playing it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you started playing it. So
in the airport.
Yeah, very easy game to get through. It took me like 2.5 hours to get the platinum trophy on PlayStation, because once you beat the hour-long story to get the platinum, you just go back and replay certain segments again. Really touching story about family and moving from, one country to another. I learned a lot about East Indian culture, Tamil culture specifically, that I was completely ignorant to before and just knew nothing about. So it's very cool to do that. It's like a Cooking Mama game meets like a narrative, emotional, story beat family type game. So definitely worth checking that out as well. Number 16 was the GoldenEye 007 remaster that they put out on Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. I have a huge boner for N64 games. Anybody who knows me knows that Sega Genesis and N64 were the start of me gaming when I was a kid, the two consoles that I'm still very passionate about. It's just like the Dead Space remake. They took everything about GoldenEye and made it run really smoothly on modern consoles. Really cool moment during my Extra Life stream is when I was able to show my dad me playing that game on stream for the first time because we played it so much when I was growing up. So that was a cool moment too. Number 15, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Again, I'm the only one who's played this, like the actual, Call of Duty that you had to purchase last year. I think the multiplayer is a lot better than Modern Warfare 2. I've had a lot of fun playing it. Christa actually got into it with me this year as well, and it's been really fun to see her grow and learn how to play this game and make a bunch of new friends in the Discord server that she's part of with that professional player from LA Thieves, Octane, aka Sam LaRue. And she's made a lot of really good friends in that Discord, a lot of really good people in there that we've played COD with. So that's been fun. Number 14 is a game I think you would both actually enjoy, Moonstone Island. It was my third runner up for best Steam Deck game. The premise is basically just Stardew Valley meets Deck Builder meets Pokemon. You collect creatures and catch them, and you fight with the deck building cards aspect, and then there's farming aspects. You get a glider to fly around to different islands, and I mean it's all everything I love about those games put together, and it was fantastic. Number 13, Super Mega Baseball 4. Alex and I actually eliminated the sports category for the first time ever from our deliberations because neither one of us really put that much time into any sports games last year. However, I put like 60 hours into Super Mega Baseball 4. It's one of the most fun arcade sports games I've ever played. Just a very nice break from like a proper baseball simulation like MLB The Show. And then my number 12 and number 11, we really don't need to talk about it all. Number 12 was Dredge, and number 11 was Sea of Stars. So those are my honorable mentions. That was my top 20 for the year. Again, can't overstate it enough. 2023 was an absolutely fucking amazing year for games.
Banger year.
Yeah. So I'll go through mine quickly. My number 20 was Moving Out 2. Josh, we played that one time on stream for a couple hours and had a really great time. I could see that being really goofy and fun and would be worth going back to someday for sure. My number 19 is Venba. I echo everything you just said. I played it through on a Sunday morning, I think in like 2 hours, and was like, wow, I felt a lot in that 2 hours that some games can't do in like a 25-hour experience. So it's really cool and worth experiencing for everybody, I think. My number 18 is Forspoken, actually, which was the PlayStation Starfield in a lot of ways. Like it's a bad game in a lot of ways. It was kind of the one that got like dogpiled on, and honestly, dialogue bad. Yeah, it's pretty shitty. The story's kind of nonsensical from the bit I got to. Like it's hard to follow, but it's a great podcast game. Just listen to something else, and it's running around the world, doing the jumping and dashing, and the combat was flashy and fun. That I probably played about 20 hours of it before I was like, okay, the rest of the games are coming out now. But it was not as bad as everybody gave it the wrap of, I thought, last year. My number 17, MLB The Show 23. Big baseball guy. Started my YouTube stuff doing Diamond Dynasty, Ultimate Team stuff in MLB The Show. And I had taken a year off and came back to it this year, and I actually kind of hate the way they're doing that mode. Like they used to get a lot of praise for being the one of these sports games that you didn't need to pay money to play the proper way, and they're getting farther and farther away from being able to say that now, and it's like I can see the writing on the wall. It's just a bummer, but it's because I love those games. I did play like 200 hours of it because I'm a monster.
It's basically a countdown to how long until there's a battle pass in the game.
They're hiring people that have battle pass experience. I saw something on Twitter about it.
Next year's game will probably have battle pass stuff in it.
Alive. Can we just put cards in the game and it can be cool? And you don't have to make $500 million on it, but that's not the way this shit works. My number 16 is actually the console version of Gloomhaven. I learned to play Gloomhaven this year. Very fun board game. Very extravagant, like choose your own adventure type thing. It's probably the most complicated board game I've ever played. And they put it on consoles, and it's a lot of board games struggle with the jump to a console because it's just not as fun as playing the real thing. But this one actually did kind of work fairly well, and it helped me learn the game more because it's so complicated. I got some enjoyment out of that this year. It was a good time. 15 we already talked about was Super Mario Wonder. Same thing with 14 was Super Mario RPG. 13 is where I would put Dave the Diver now. So I guess technically everything would slide back, but I made my list before I played. So the next at actually my 13 on my list here is Cocoon, which I'm shocked. I was waiting for that to come up this year, but it's a really fun like 8-hour puzzle game where it's a lot of like take this orb into this orb, and then you do a puzzle, and like that orb helps you do this ability to solve these puzzles, and it's just a really fun, like smart puzzle game. Like there's no dialogue, no text at all. It's just very intuitive where you know what you're supposed to do. And that was another one that I think I played all in one day and had a really good time and got the platinum in that one. 12 is Dredge, which we talked a lot about. I really enjoyed Dredge this year. And my number 11 was Diablo 4, which for it being number 11, it's also one of my biggest disappointments this year because it was my most anticipated game coming into this year, because Diablo 3, I would say, is definitely in my top 5, maybe even top 3 of my favorite games of all time. So everything about this looked like it was going to be a bigger and better version of that, and just something about it just kind of bounced off. I think I was playing with Tiff, and like that was my main character, and she fell off before we hit the level cap, and I was like, well, I don't want to play that character because that's ours to play together, but I also don't want to start over, so it just kind of went away. But Diablo is going to be that game that I'll come back to later. Like I'll get that itch to play it. I know it'll be fun. So it just missed my top 10 this year at 11.
All right, Ben, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I have a few, just a handful. One I want to talk about is Zero Sievert. It's an extraction shooter, but it's top-down pixel art. And it was in like extreme early access when I was playing it, so I got stuck in a loop where I was just like dying, and couldn't like get out of it. But it was cool. It was like a fun little, like when I was really deep in my DMZ time, and I was like, oh, I want to keep trying this genre and see what it's like. That was a cool one. What was the other one I wanted to talk about? I played Riders Republic, I think, for the first time this year. That game's pretty cool. It's a fun open world game. I didn't play much more past that, but it was chill. Let's see. Oh, Call of the Wild, the Angler.
Oh shit!
I do want to talk about that.
We played
That game
on
is
my
cool.
Extra Life
It's like a
stream.
weird, yeah.
I remember
It's just a
watching that,
fishing
yeah.
game. It's open world fishing game. It has a lot of cool like exploration mechanics in it. It's weird and fun. And then what else is in here in my list here that I want to talk about? Really, the last one I think that I would like to talk about is a game called Shotgun King. I don't think it came out this year, but it's a shotgun based like roguelike almost. You play as the shotgun based. It's a chess based roguelike. You play as a king. When did this come out? Came out in 2022. You play as the king that has a shotgun, and you're just like kind of going through like chessboards with different pieces on them, and each time it gets a little bit harder, and it's just really odd. And as I do the chess club at my school, and so it was just kind of like, okay, I'll try this out. It's just really strange. It's just such a weird mechanics. There's like card pieces to it where you like upgrade your chess you like upgrade your king, and then you can like take the souls of other pieces that you kill so you can move out of the way. It's just really interesting. It's a bizarre game. I wish it played a little bit better on Steam Deck, but that's because that's where I was playing it. But other than that, like it's just such an odd game. So those are my kind of shout outs for the year.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, guys, 3 hours and 18 minutes into it. I think that's going to do it. Another really successful year. I think, again, can't say it enough. I think 2023 is going to go down as one of the best gaming years of all time. It definitely was for all of us. I mean, it's first year that we started doing this that I was able to make a top 20, you know? So
Yeah.
that really says a lot about it. But I can't thank you guys enough, as always. You guys are great. Thanks to Aaron again, Ben, Alex, for doing this with me every year. I mean, we talk to each other a lot throughout the year, but it's always really fun to get together and do this. It's not even really about how many people watch this anymore. It's just the fact that we get to sit down for 3 hours every year and like talk about something
Absolutely.
we really love together. Like I could give a shit how many other people watch this. Now, granted, if you are watching this on YouTube and enjoying it, we really do love and appreciate you guys too. But it's more about just friends getting together and hanging out and talking about games, something that we've all been passionate about since we were kids. So it's always a good time every year. Shout out to Alex's channel, Swirly Plays, Swirly Streams, Swirly Fucks, all that good stuff. I'm gonna try something really quick with my soundboard on Discord. Let me know if you guys hear this real quick.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's we're gonna do this. And we're gonna give the clap for the end of the year as well. And then finally, shout out to Brandon for showing me one of my new favorite TikToks from the year.
A man is being birthed today. It's Dope Man.
So if you haven't watched Dough Man, the TikTok, I highly recommend that one as well. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. Go check out Alex's Swirly Awards that we did. Genuinely one of the most fun things I did. As far as
that was
like
a lot of fun.
creating content. That was over was it 4 hours, I think?
I think it was 4 hours.
Yeah. So we
And
definitely
yesterday for us.
Yeah, so yeah, we've done a lot of talking in the last 24 hours about games and stuff, but it was worth it. So yeah, go check that out. The Twitch archive is up now, and then you'll have a YouTube archive up at some point.
Yep.
This like I said, we're recording this on January 13th. It just depends on what's going on with Kristen, how long it's going to take her to edit it and upload it. Hopefully it'll be sometime here in the next week or so. And then be on the lookout for our part 2 of our Game of the Year stuff, which really isn't games at all. It's movies and music and TV shows. And John will be on that one. Alex won't be on it, but it'll be me and John and Ben and Aaron on that one. So another one we really enjoy recording every year. And yeah, again, Adjectinown Gaming on Twitter is where we are most active on social media. So if you follow us on there, that's where we post all of our updates. And then follow us on Twitch and here on YouTube as well. So again, thanks to Aaron, Ben, and Alex for joining me. And we'll see you guys for part 2 of Game of the Year stuff. But otherwise, let's see how 2024 is for games. We got Prince of Persia coming out next week, which is probably going to be really cool. Final Fantasy Rebirth coming out next month, but who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year. I guess you guys will find out in 2025 for our best of 2024. Love you guys. Mwah, big kisses. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.